Hello, world. Welcome back. Like we said last week, the slop is over. Now we're getting the good stuff. Finals across the world have started, and a couple are about to partake next weekend, as well as we had the LEC and LPL finals, the LPL regional finals. We had Worlds match on the line with probably one of the biggest disappointments in the history of competitive League of Legends in North America.
Well,
Uh,
that's an opinion that we may not all share.
One of them? I think one of them
But
is in there.
disappointment, I have to feel some level of disappointment in that happening, which I do not.
And LCK finals will be partaking next week. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Power Spike here with dGon, Monty, and Dom to break down the action from the world of League of Legends. How was your week, Dom?
It was good. It was just nonstop, and it was even worse. It was literally as hard as humanly possible because the two series in LCS went to 5 games. Like the two crucial ones went to 5 games. It was the TL one and then the 100 Thieves dig went to 5 games. So it was absolutely brutal. But yeah, we made it.
Yeah, there was constant league. I remember I tried to go to bed. I woke up
I
at
saw
1 and I
even
was like, what the hell?
Cadril dipped out on the last couple of LCS games.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
stayed strong though. Good for you.
How about you, Monty? How are you?
I also had a lot of League of Legends to watch, but I didn't have to watch it all night, so I think it was easier for me. I watch it in my own time during the day in NA friendly or not NA Korea friendly time zones. And by the way, speaking of time zones, this is the first time our show has really been in an NA friendly time zone. So I'm sure North American fans, if you're watching this live, you should appreciate this now because it's the last time. After this weekend, you're not going to get anything in an NA friendly time zone again for Worlds. So enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, and it's going to be either Europe friendly or Korea friendly. Unfortunate. Let's get to it. All right. LCK playoffs just kicked into a new gear as round 3. As I constantly get reminded by Jisun, she's like, "It's not upper bracket and lower bracket quarterfinal summit. We don't use that terminology. It's just round 3." And I was like, "But how do you know who's in the who's in the winning side of it?
Can
Who's
we
in the
please
lower
not
side of it?"
let people whose native language is not English dictate how we discuss tournaments? Can we please do that? I
That's
would
all of
appreciate that.
LCK. All of LCK calls it round 3. I think it's
I
round
I
3
don't care. That is very confusing. Upper
elimination.
bracket and lower bracket is
It
the
makes
But
correct
round
sense.
terminology.
no, it doesn't because round 3 is not actually elimination because Genji and Hanwha Life, there's no elimination
Yes.
in the upper
Yep.
part of the round 3.
Yeah, I don't know. No, round 3 elimination is the lower side. It was T1 and
No.
D
What's
plus.
okay, and what's the round? What's the other one
I think it's
then?
I don't know. I don't know. I just
Round three
they just
elimination is
said just say
HLE
round
versus
3, and I was like,
T1.
but I need to. This doesn't make sense in my brain.
Doesn't make sense in
Yeah.
anyone's brain, Dion.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So we had round 3. Both matches are winners of round 2 and are losers of round 2 go head to head here. Let's start there on the top side. Genji and Hanwha Life Esports went the way of Genji, not a clean 3-0 as Hanwha Life had some good strategies prepared and came out with the victory in game 1. They looked good. Their macro kept up for most of the time until game 3 or game 4. But
Hey, what about round 2? Why are we skipping round 2?
Wait,
Why are we skipping T1 losing? That's my question.
I
Why
forgot
are we
how
skipping
far
T1
we
losing?
are. All right, let's go back to T1 losing then. T1 gets walloped by Hanwha Life Esports. Go ahead, Dom. It's your time to shine.
No, just I feel like it's we should start, as the week progressed. It was the Wednesday, Thursday matches. It was Genji, Dom1, and then Hanwha Life T1. Both 3-0s. T1 completely outclassed across the board. Every position, everywhere, macro, micro, like everything was better on the side of Hanwha Life. And I feel like Hanwha Life, they're just they remind me a lot of top esports. They've got like the jungler that's smart, but the mechanics are kind of sus, and if you win a game versus them, the team kind of just falls apart. They have the Peanut TN comparison going on.
Peanut was great in this series. He was real good.
Peanut shit on Owner, and Owner's my favorite player on T1, but Owner just got completely shit on by
He
Peanut.
looks
Peanut
bad.
just smurfed on him, and I think he almost smurfed on him too hard that in the next series he was like, just give me Vi. Like and now it's crunch time. We're like on eliminate, just keep on giving me Vi. It's like, bro, the Vi is not that good. It was just good right there. So I don't know. I thought that T1 got like a lot of the things that they had been doing wrong. I guess I won't say they got exposed, because a lot of these things you should be able to have seen coming. But I feel like with T1 they have this thing where unless they actually lose a best of 5, people just don't actually believe that any of their flaws are real flaws. It's like, yeah, this is how it's looking right now, but they'll get it together. Like they just get the biggest pass. I mean, obviously they're defending world champions, so they get the biggest pass, but we saw a lot of the things come to bite them. And yeah, I mean, once again, I think Faker was completely outclassed by Zika. I think that was maybe the biggest gap. I mean, mid jungle, both of them were super big. You could take which one you want. But I thought Zika was like insane in this series. I thought that he literally played like almost perfectly. I mean, the way that he was dodging some of these ganks when he was playing the Yone into LeBlanc Lee Sin, like that was fucking clean. Like that is a very hard matchup to play when you're playing Yone into LeBlanc and there's a Lee Sin as well. You have to be using your abilities in order to just even farm in the lane. Like you need to be able to, be eating forward on timings. You need to be able to like be constantly using your W in order to trade. So it's very hard to be doing all that and also be in a situation where you can't die to ganks. So the fact that he was ahead in CS in that game was completely insane. And obviously Zika is the Yone guy, like he's I mean, obviously Chovy's really insane on everything. He's really insane on Yone too. But for me, like Zika is the guy who's the best melee mid player in the LCK generally. So it's nice to see him, really play these games. And it was expected from T1. I think that was the thing that was so nice about it, is that T1 prepped for this. They expected Zika to play champions like this. This is why they're going for like the early pick LeBlanc, is because they are trying to preemptively counter what they think Zika is going to do if they leave his Yone open. But I feel like Zika's at the point now where he's looking like a really complete player, because he can play the things, like the Zir if he has to. But then he has the Yone, he has the Corki, which he's now good at because they remove package. As soon as they remove package, he's now able to play Corki again. So I don't know. I just thought that this was like a very impressive victory. I think that this victory looked a lot more decisive to me than when they 3-0'd them in spring. Like the 3-0 in spring was kind of a shock. Like I didn't really like believe that they were that good, but they looked like they were just comprehensively better than T1 in this series.
Yeah, but let me tell you a scary story, Dom. So they 3-0'd them in spring, and then what happens?
Yep.
They come back and lose.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's like I think that the 3-0 in spring, it did look like T1 was having a bad day, like, or a good day. Sorry, a bad day. It looked like Hanwha Life was having a good day and T1 was having a bad day. Even the way that series started, if you remember the other one, like T1 in the first like 20 minutes, it felt like they were gearing up, like, okay, like this is going to be a good game. And then they suddenly lost the fight, and then Hanwha Life stole that game 1, and it felt like it kind of snowballed away from T1. Whereas in these games, it's like the game 1 started and it was like complete outclass. Game 2, T1 tried a different look. It got a little bit sketchy at a point, outclass them again. It just felt like they were very poised to win this series.
Well, it just seems like T1. Okay, so I will say that, the big difference here is obviously you could never 1-to-1 compare because of the meta, and the meta is just like T1 is just objectively much worse in this meta than they were in the spring meta. Things have changed. Like in spring, Faker was pretty convincingly the second best mid laner in LCK coming into the playoffs. Right now, he's really not anywhere close. It's not a friendly meta for Faker. And the rest of T1, they just seem to be grasping at straws. Like I was really unimpressed with Gumayusi's Seraphine and that pivot that they made in game number 2. He whiffed like a lot of ults, and they just seem very unable to kind of execute some of these dive compositions. And it wasn't, they don't seem to be on point with the meta. Sure, we're seeing Gumayusi play Ziggs, but he is nowhere near as good at that champion as players like Paze and Viper are. That we've seen in playoffs. So that's been a little bit disappointing as well. And it feels as though like this meta is just not for them. And therefore it feels like it is going to be very hard to see them upsetting Hanwha this coming week. Like when they replay, I don't think we're going to get a T1 victory.
Yeah, the way that we've been breaking it down on the desk is it seems like T1 currently don't have the playbooks for this meta, other than come fight us and we'll outhand you, which actually didn't work in the early game. This is all that stuff that Dom was saying earlier, with Zeka getting constantly pressured by Owner and Faker and outplaying it. Like Owner, they put the ball in Owner's court with, I think it was the last pick, Lee Sin, saying, hey, we are going to focus your lane. And he absorbed all the pressure, allowed Peanut to counter gank and create, I think it was 3 different ganks early on that got turned around on T1 that just boomed the early game and allowed Hanwha Life to scale there. And so this T1 team, although it's the same guys, the same team, the same roster, it just feels like they are not creative in their setup or what they want to accomplish other than, oh, I can fight here. Oh, this is a look. And when they get that, which they did against D+, they're still good. They're still making crazy outplays. But otherwise, if a team has a plan or has a strategy or understands how to win and how to gain leads, the small incremental leads, and then put that into one big team fight later on, like Hanwha Life and like Gen.G have displayed, they just flounder. And it's so frustrating because you see the nameplates, they've done it before, they've been there before, but they just don't look coordinated. They don't look like they're on the same page. Even in the D+ series, there was a Baron in game number 1 that D+ took. They started it, and it was a very clear call. As soon as Owner gets in, we're all going over to the back of the Baron pit, killing Owner, and we'll get Baron later. In game 2, T1 had the opportunity to do it, and they let it whittle all the way down. Owner died, Peanut died. It ended up being Faker like taking it with Nasus by himself, but it was just, again, so messy and not very clear on what they want to accomplish for whatever reason this split. So not a great start there for them in this first Hanwha Life series here, Dom.
Yeah, I think the issue with T1 is it used to be that like when they had these big early game leads, it felt like, oh, they would just stomp you with it. So at least they had that. But when you go back to even like their KT series, I mean, the first game that they played, that Olaf game, I mean, they're throwing quite a bit in these games. They're throwing like a lot of different game states, which they weren't really doing before. And I think that this is like the issue when they play against Hanwha Life. And if they play against like Gen.G, for example, I just don't see how they could beat these teams. I can see Hanwha Life collapsing. Like I can see Hanwha Life just beating themselves versus T1, you know, but if Hanwha Life shows up and they play like Hanwha Life has played the entire split, there should be no chance. The only reason that Hanwha Life can lose is because they are kind of a fragile team. And it might be one of those things. It's like when Top Esports lost to Weibo. I don't actually think that Top Esports is worse than Weibo. I just think that Top Esports wasn't expecting the series to be that difficult. And when it became that difficult, they collapsed. I have the same type of feeling with Hanwha Life. They're overall like game plans and the way that they like set up vision, the way that they play around objectives is just better than T1's right now. But when you look at like how T1 wins games, like even versus Dom1, I mean, the game 3 was that the Camille game where the only reason that they like end the game there is because Dom1 tries to over siege and they like try to take, like they try to end the game when there was no chance, and they just get chased down all the way down to their own tier 2. And they lose the game. And I feel like that's why T1 is kind of the counter to Dom1, because Dom1 is just so fucking stupid. Like the macro of Dom1 is so bad. Like anyone who's been watching Dom1 this year just knows that it's like they've been trying, man. They've tried
everything to solve this problem. It's like we just go through supports trying to find the one guy with the brain in the late game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be everyone else too. Like I don't know. I mean, they're just making just objective. There needs to be one person that's like, hey, like press tab, look at the death. We cannot end the game. We just need, okay, we were behind. We just won a big fight. Reset. Let's go for another like fight, and then off that maybe now we can end because we have a inhibitor down and all this stuff. So, for me, it's one of those things where Hanwha Life and Gen.G, they're just playing on a different level than all the other LCK teams right now.
Yeah, it's been pretty clear, those two and everyone else. At times, you had hope that maybe it was D+. I think earlier in the split, D+ had a really good start to the split. They beat Hanwha Life Esports. However, that was in week 1. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. They got beat on the way back around in the double round robin part. So, all right. Well, T1, Hanwha Life, and Any final thoughts here on D plus?
Yeah. So look, I think with D plus, like Dom's talking about, the same issues tend to show themselves. Like I don't know how you fix this roster, because who is supposed to be I have a lot of questions. First off,
Yeah.
how can literal world champion Showmaker have macro this bad when he was on a world, the world's winning team of Dom1 and is a veteran of this capacity, right?
Oh, because he just wasn't doing the macro on that team.
Apparently,
Like, his job.
apparently.
I mean, his job was to show up and just be mechanically excellent,
It was
like win his
Beryl.
lane every game, and then it's like him. And you saw the same
was
thing
Beryl.
when it was just him and Canyon last year. Yeah, I mean, Beryl just had a very good sense for that. I mean, you could even see it when they released the comms for like the KT T1. Like he's the one,
Yeah.
or not KT, what the fuck, DRX. When they won Worlds, you could listen to the comms from Beryl, and he was the one that would make all the split second, like, we just killed this many people. Okay, can we end? Like, no, take this many turrets and back. Like, now we need to do this. Like, he was the one that was able to make all those decisions on the fly and analyze all that information the best. And you need something like that, because Dom1 right now, they know how to win the fights. They win the fights, and then it's like, what do we do? It's like, I don't fucking know. Just run at the fucking Nexus, and then maybe we win. And then they just never win. Like, they just never win. If you watch think about like all the fucking Dom1 tragedies we've had this year. How about the Sandbox series? The Sandbox series in regular season? Oh my god. Like that game, like the fact that they tried to end that game, like that was just the biggest tragedy that we've seen. That might be like some of the worst, because wasn't that like Soul and Elder and Baron? And like they somehow fucking lost. It was like, god damn, they can't buy a fucking win late game. This is the reason why, like, people. Okay, so I think that Dom1 and LNG are very susceptible to Western teams for this reason. Is I think that actually, like, G2, not all the Western teams. When I say Western teams, I mean G2 and TL. I actually think that TL has better, like, significantly better late game macro than a team like Dom1.
Of course.
So I feel like if the game is like reasonable at all, Dom1's just gonna vomit all over themselves and just like throw the game. It won't look like TL or G2 are better when they beat Dom1, but they'll win. Like, they'll win. It just won't look pretty.
I mean, I think it's just interesting because obviously D plus wasn't going to solve the shot calling issues with a rookie jungler in Lucid, right? And so Moham is not a super veteran, but he has
rookie support too. Nice.
he's not a rookie, but he is a little. But I mean, they're clearly like trying to make adjustments in order to solve these issues. But I don't know if you could do that. Like, it's just astounding to me that some of the multiple world champions they have in this roster can't actually step up or haven't learned anything about the game in order to facilitate some of these late game shot calling scenarios. Because, surely, it's not normal to have a top laner doing shot calling in the mid and early stages of the game, but surely Kingin should know how to make a call around finishing the game. Like, you're there, Kingin, with the rest of your team. You actually can say things in that situation. So it's just astounding to me that they have nobody who can be that voice. And it's astounding to me that the coaching staff hasn't just made somebody do it.
Who? Showmaker?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not the coach. The coaches need to make that call, but somebody needs to take response. This is what I hate about coaches and teams, okay? Which is that you have to just give somebody that responsibility. Right? Because if they're not stepping up to take it themselves, somebody has to have the last word on that stuff. And then you have to coach them in making those decisions. And at this point in time, it's been years of this for D plus Kia. Years. You knew that Lucid and Moham and Kellen weren't going to be those guys. So why haven't you designated somebody? Like, this feels like bad coaching.
Remember when we talked about the all pro voting here, Dom? Zephyr was the only one of the coaches. He's the head coach now of D plus. He was the only one that didn't vote along the first place, second place, third place lines. So, like, I respect him pretty highly for being able to put the effort in and have the eye to pick out the different players here, but he hasn't been able to solve this shot calling issue for years, as it has been noted. They do have, as we go to the regional gauntlet, they will have the 2 lives. They'll be in the upper bracket. So basically 5 and 6 play each other single elimination, and the winner of that will play the loser of 3 and 4, which is D plus and whoever loses between Hanwha Life Esports and T1. So This next match between those two will be a Worlds qualifying match, essentially.
Yeah,
And
which
so
is
Team Plus had
a
little
lot
time.
more hype than when all 3 teams are decided going into the finals week. I mean, who knows? Like Hanwha Life T1, that might even sell out their arena. Like maybe fans will actually come to watch that match live. Who knows?
Maybe. I just got asked. That wasn't me, right? I saw that arena and I was like, we're not
Yeah.
that far from like any major train station in Berlin, Cologne, wherever we're at, right? Like
Munich.
Like Munich's a big city, right? Like I feel
Huge
like,
city.
all right. I
How
was
many
like,
people live in Munich? Munich population. Like I've been to Munich. I mean,
it was a
1.5
good
million.
show.
So-
It was a
so-
good show. I liked watching it. It just
It wasn't,
that
dude.
main camera shot was just God, it was like right there. You could see it right next to the jumbotron.
I have to go on a rant. If you thought that was a good show, dGon, because let me tell you, one of the most hilarious parts of the difference between the LPL finals and the LEC finals was that they were very similar, but the LEC finals were like the ultra scuffed. We have finals production at home. Compared to LPL, because LPL, okay, we get the big stage, right? It's all the LEDs, and the opening ceremony comes up. The Silver Dragon Cup floats gently in from the ceiling, and then is there a car ad? Hell yes, there is, but it's an above shot, and it's the Mercedes logo on the floor underneath the cup, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then what happens? A bunch of people in cloaks come out, right? And they start dancing. They're professional dancers. They start dancing around the cup. All right, let's talk about LEC. Let's talk about what
you
happened
don't
with
like the
LEC.
dancing. I thought you don't like the dancing.
If it's professional dancing, it's okay. Let's talk about LEC. Let's talk about LEC.
Okay.
So they have a fucking car. And I say this as somebody who owns Kias and likes Kias. They just have a Kia parked in the corner of the arena. So we're jammed into the corner of the arena. We're not even on the main stage. We have a camera there. And it looks like they've just recruited a bunch of G2 and Fnatic fans. And they've put them in like dollar store cloaks. And by the way, didn't we get rid of summoners? Why is everyone in cloaks? Okay, but we don't have professional dancers. We just have a bunch of people. Wait. And then what happens is we get the teams walking out of the tunnels, and to generate hype, dGon, they literally just splash the screen with graphics bukkake in your face, just like assaulting you.
Well, no, Jizuke had a really good theory on this. So I was watching the matches with Jizuke, and he said that the reason why he thinks that they do that is because there's been so many production problems this year that if they do that constantly, you won't be able to tell if the broadcast is failing or if it's actually just the production that's intended.
It is literally the cheapest thing you could do. It was like graphics bukkake, just like graffiti logos just flashing really fast on your screen. It's like Han Saba, and then Jun comes out with his little crutches and is like cheering with his crutches. And I'm like, this is a crippled. You really made a crippled production. This is the crippled version of the LPL. And then dGon, what happens? You get the people who look like homeless people in cloaks, just like walking next to the players up to the stage. It looked like shit. The LEC production looked like shit. And it was especially funny because you also had the cloaked people and car commercial in the LPL, and it looked about 1 million times better. There's just a car parked in the corner of the arena. You know what, dGon? They couldn't even afford a wrap for that car. They couldn't even put G2 and Fnatic logos on it. What the fuck? It's just a car. It's just a fucking car.
One thing I didn't like is that the players were like on both sides of the Kia. Like the Kia was like the main thing, and then both teams were like on the sides of it there, and that looked really weird to me because I feel like the focus should be on the players. Like I'm okay with the Mercedes logo on the Silver Dragon Cup. It wasn't like a constant Mercedes shoved down. It's like the cup comes down, and then on the top down view you saw it had the Mercedes logo, and it was under the trophy. It wasn't like super like in your face, but at some point, like when I was watching this, I'm like, okay, I get it that Kia is a sponsor and everything, but this is a little bit like too in your face for a sponsor. Like, bro, like that's like if I just fucking did a sponsorship and then I just have that shit just like written on my fucking like chest, my body, and then I just like when I speak, it's just like I'm doing the Genshin sponsor I just did, and when I speak, it's like being translated like through like a Vocaloid type thing, and I just sound like Paimon. Like, come on, man, like it's just way too way too far. Because I mean, the thing is, you want to like I also wanted like the players to like be shown on stage together. Like, I mean, it was kind of funny because in LPL Tarzan tripped. Like they came out together, like the both players, and like Tarzan just ate shit. Like it looked like he literally, it must have been wet or something because it looked like he actually slipped. It didn't
Yeah,
look
it
like it was
looked like
his fault.
yeah.
Yeah, like he just slipped, and you know, like that was kind of funny. Like the players came out together. I just wish there was more focus on the players than the Kia.
Well, Dom, I have some bad news for you. Arcane comes out in November, and so if you were excited to see them focusing on players for Worlds, we're just going to get Arcane ads. So don't worry about it. Why would we focus on players at our fucking esports event?
Nice. Yeah, that would be horrible.
So now that you know we gotta listen up, nephews, at the top of the show that was unexpected. Let me rephrase.
I'm just sorry you said LEC production was good, so it
effort of my fellow casters was great.
I heard.
Here's
Here's my conspiracy theory. You ready for why there were no people in the arena on Saturday?
why.
I think Fnatic fans bought all the tickets because they thought Fnatic would be in the losers bracket, and then they just didn't show up.
No way. Well, that was the thing. Is like maybe, but Mad Lions. I mean, hey, Mad Lions is supposed to have this massive fan base, and then they make it to this event, and the arena's not even full. So
Dude.
it's like, where, like, are these fans actually LEC fans where they want to watch LEC, or are they just watching Eby's co-stream?
We've heard so much pushback on, you know, where are my road shows, meow meow meow, and then it was just way
dGon.
emptier than what I can remember.
dGon. Yes, we have heard that pushback. Quick question. Do you think this sells out if it's in Spain or France? The answer is yes.
Yes.
The problem is that they are not choosing venues based off of where they can get the most tickets. They are choosing venues based off of who pays them, and the city of Munich paid them to have the event there. You can tell because there's Munich advertisements all over the LEC. It's like city of Munich. They paid for it, or they gave them the arena for free, or they compensated them in some way. And having it in the same fucking country in Europe as the only road show, I know it's 6 hours away from Berlin driving, guys, but it's still in the same country, is not a good idea. I don't know. If you want to sell the arena out, that is not a good idea. It wasn't sold out on Sunday either.
I mean, it looked better on Sunday than it did.
It was about
Saturday.
2/3 full from people there that I've talked to.
And that's a normal practice though, right? Like it's the same thing with Gyeongju here in Korea. We're going down to Gyeongju and we've had city of Gyeongju ads. Like
the difference is that will fill out, dGon. I was there at the spring finals with you were there, I was there. It was packed to the rafters, man. It was crazy packed.
All right.
And Gyeongju will sell out, by the way, because it's close to Busan and people can drive from Busan.
It's already sold out. I'm meeting people on Valorant. I tell them I'm an LCK host, and they ask for tickets to the final.
There you go.
Sorry, didn't mean to derail us too much. But all I wanted to say was the casters did a great job. I'm very proud
I agree
of that group there.
It had nothing to do with the casting. It has to do with the LEC's production value. I mean, if you just side by side it, and we can do the same thing with the LEC production value for finals that with the LCK finals this weekend, it will look like trash. It will look like trash. They have cut every single budget with that league. Every single budget. Their budget is now cloaks and parked cars.
Unwrapped.
That's me.
That's the part that got me, Monty. You couldn't slap a logo on there.
Dude, you can't slap an LEC logo or a G2 versus Fnatic. Like, make it. It's just white. It's just a white car.
Dang, I want that white
Trust
car.
Kern would be very mad about that white car, by the way. Anyway.
Okay. Let's go to the LCK top 3.
It was blindingly white, some might say.
Let's go to the LCK top 3.
As far as I can see white.
These boards and Gen G. How do we see this playing out here, Monty?
Gen G wins. I don't think there's a world where Gen G doesn't win. I mean, look, this team is just like too fucking good at this meta right now. Pays is popping off. Like Pays looks extremely good on a lot of these meta champs. I also love Gen G's flexibility. Like the power of having Chovy and Keen as solo laners is so immense in terms of their champion pools, right? Because Chovy is a known, kind of melee bruiser enjoyer in the mid lane. Goes back to his Cassante picks, his fucking Sunfire Yone picks, right? And now he's coming up with the Garen counter picks and Danasis. It is very hard to play into this team, and especially now that we know that Keen can mirror win with the Corki in the top side, that he can play these champions as well. It is very, very hard to draft against this team because if you start to prioritize certain champions, it feels like they will just be able to counter you in whatever solo lane, right? And they have that flexibility. So they are looking extremely good. I was kind of nervous about Canyon at the end of the splits, but he's done better in playoffs. I think that they did trip up a little bit against Hanwha Life in that first game. I think the Jax pick was obviously known because Doran is a Jax player, but the Jax pick was really good into Gen G's composition.
I mean, Keen also just like fed for no reason. Like he just he had DP and he just like walked up and just let like Doran kill him. It was there's nothing else to say about it. It's like I'm sure Keen said in Korea that I'm in feeding. Like I am in feeding. I will TP back top now. My bad. Like that's all you can say there. Everyone in feeds every now and then. Like it is what it is.
They're going back to the Callista Renata Glask and having really good games on these. Of course, we always see Lehens with some of these pocket picks, like his Blitzcrank, where he can just absolutely pop off on them. Even Gen G, like Pace just has an immense game as Jhin, and I think we're starting to see some of the power of this Jhin pick, like we saw in the LPL finals as well. I think Jhin is a very unfairly maligned AD carry because
it's I think it's actually OP right now.
Yeah,
that's
good.
actually how I view it.
Especially when we have a lot of these carry junglers or like hyper carry AD mid laners. The setup that he provides is crazy. Plus the synergy with like Maokai and man, it's great.
He's just weak on 2 items. That's what people need to accept. It's like other characters don't have like a 2-item power trough the same way Jhin does. Like I was a rapid fire cannon second hater.
Static RFC.
Yeah, static RFC. I mean, the thing is, it's like without the RFC, I've like seen different variations. Like none of them actually look that good. Even if you go IE second into static third, like it doesn't, or into rapid third, it doesn't change too much. I think the champion is actually just really good once you hit like 3-4 items. That's the thing. Is like once you have like if you need an LDR on 3 or once you have an IE, once you hit those breakpoints, then you're actually really fucking strong. So, yeah, I don't think the champion is bad. What people have to understand is that a lot of times like MF and Ashe are just banned or like one is taken and the other one doesn't look good in the game, and Jhin is a champion that allows you to get away with a lot of different picks. Like part of the reason why I think we're seeing the Jhin for Gen G is because they want to play Blitzcrank, right? And if you want to play Blitz, it's nice to have an AD carry that can kind of 1v2 the lane so that Blitz doesn't have to actually do anything, because you don't actually want to be playing Blitz into Leona in a lane. Like you don't want that lane to exist. You just want the Jhin to farm and the Blitz to be able to do whatever. And the thing about Jhin is that when you can do the same strategy with different champions. You can do the same strategy with a champion like Ezreal, but Jhin is a champion that's more self-sufficient. Like Ezreal, you don't want to fall behind. Like you need to get your 2 items on Ezreal, where like Jhin is always kind of okay in the game, even on the 2 items where it's like not the strongest. It's not horrible. It's just not as strong as it's going to be later on, where I think it's strong on 1 item, strong on 3 items, strong on 4 items.
Jhin also sets up Blitz via W and ult, which is super nice too. So, anyway, yes, agreed. Jhin good. But the I don't know who's going to beat Gen G, because Hanwha looked extremely outclassed for the rest of that series. Gen G was incredibly prepared for D+. Gen G is a team that I feel like when they care, they are really good at prepping for their opponents. I feel like their weakness is getting cocky, but I don't think they're going to get cocky in an LCK final, right? I think going into Esports World Cup, they were pretty blasé about their preparations, but it seems like Gen G really wants to lock in and like Golden Road at this point in time, and their playoff run has been much better than the end of their regular season, unsurprisingly, because those games didn't matter, right?
Yeah, they got Iverned. That was the beginning of the Ivern trend, the very publicly there. Dom, the Hanwha Life T1 match is for Worlds. Who's your favorite, and is there a way that it doesn't go the way that you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Hanwha is definitely the favorite. Like, I think it should just be the favorite. Like, I mean, it should be just a straight up favorite. I think T1 can obviously win. They just have to win in their weird T1 way. Like they need to pull out counter picks for Zeus. Like he needs to play like
I appreciate the fact that they actually pulled out the Yone counter pick because
but
unfortunately,
why would you blind Aatrox into Zeus? Like how
That is
fucking
insane.
crazy is that? Like you could literally just go Renekton there, by the way. He could literally just pick Renekton, which is like good into the champions that Zeus wants to play. Like they even banned the Vayne. That's the crazy thing, right? Like they banned the Vayne to make the Renekton even like better. I'm like, oh, they're definitely going Renekton here. And then they just hard lock the Aatrox. I'm like, wait, like this guy has won like a couple worlds doing this same shit. Like he won worlds and then he also did well in the previous worlds doing the same exact
Kenyon
shit.
has in his contract that he has to play his world skin once per series so that it
Jesus
sells and he
Christ.
gets money from it. Okay.
It was super triggering. I honestly think the Hanwha Life Gen G, like I don't think that it has to go as one-sided as it looked, I guess, in the semifinals or round 3 up or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But when I look at the series, it's like game 1, Hanwha Life just played a better game straight up. They win the game. Like they had just a draft that scales really well with the Smolder. Zika played really well. Doran played well. Okay, that's great. Then you look at the game 2 progression. When I saw game 2, I'm like, there's no chance they win. When you look at game 2 and you see Peanut and Doran locking in Zyra Renekton, like you're just never winning. If like they need old man champions. They do not need when you're playing into Canyon. I want to see Peanut on Sejuani. I want to see him on Maokai. I want to see him on Ivern. If there's a Poppy angle, pick that. And in that game too, like sure, enemy team bans out like Vi, Sejuani, and Maokai. Okay. Where's the Ivern? Like isn't like people have been banning the Ivern for some, and like I think Ivern is one of the champions that is very good into Gen G because Gen G don't play in a way to really like abuse you super hard early game, and Ivern is a champion that like can exist. Like when you get into a team fight at like 2 items on Ivern, like 18 minutes, whatever, the champion is completely fucking busted. It's like one of the stupidest champions in the entire game. So I just wanted to see them like pull out something like that. Like I'm totally down for them to play Doran on another Jax game, right? Like it wasn't banned in this game either. Or was it banned? No, it wasn't banned in this game either.
Nope.
I'm down for another Jax game. Why not another Jax game with an Ivern? Doesn't that look so much better? It looks way better to me than what they ended up playing here. Game 3, they're up like 6k gold, but their draft was fucking unplayable, by the way. Why do they have Cassante, Ornn, and Enchanter Senna? Like
It was bad.
Cassante,
Oh my god, yeah.
Cassante, Ornn, Viper on Enchanter Senna. Viper cannot be playing Enchanter Senna in this series. Like he just can't play Enchanter Senna in the series. Like,
It's like they didn't understand. It's like they didn't understand any of their win conditions. They first pick Azir for Zeka. It's like, guys, like this isn't even why you win games. And then we're like, what if we use the change Senna but put Viper on? Oh, it's a carry. Did you guys learn nothing from all of your wins? Like you don't play this way.
Well, think about it. Their whole team comp is they have double tank, an Enchanter Senna, which is just a pure support. Then they have Vi, which is a like single target lockdown one champion, and an Azir. And on the other side, they have a Nasus. The Wither counters their only damage dealer. They have one damage dealer on the entire team, and Wither just makes him impossible to play. Like this draft.
Also, if they try and engage, the Hens just presses R and then it's over. It's just
they were going to win this game. Like imagine if they had like Gen G made a crucial mistake where Hanwha Life got Baron, and it looked like Hanwha Life was just going to win the game, right? Like Hanwha Life should have just won the game at that point, but they just couldn't fight. Like they're up 6k and Baron going to Drake fight. Now you could argue they should probably give that Drake and just push because they had Baron. They probably shouldn't fight. They just thought they were so far ahead they would guaranteed win. But if they are playing anything that's even remotely playable at this point in the game, they're going to win. And then game 4 was like the tilt rundown in my book. Like that's how I felt about game 4. Like game 4 was just like, okay, I don't even care. And that's why I compare them to top esports, is because that's the quality that top has. Top has that. Like if you go up like 2-1 versus top esports in a series, you fucking won. Congratulations. Like that's all you need, bro. You just need 2 wins against top esports and you're good.
Yeah, I mean everything, all the points he made there, especially on the Senna's. Ox was saying the same thing, and he was on the support Senna hype train like when the patch notes came out, and he was like, this is absolutely not the time when you run this. And yeah, they got pounded, and that was basically the end of the series there. All right. Well, those are our views. Who do you got winning the Worlds qualifier here, Monty?
Oh, this one?
Well,
Hanwha.
I mean, just Hanwha and T1.
Yeah, Hanwha.
All right.
Hanwha, and then Generation Gamers wins
Worlds,
title.
Boom. The title. All right,
their
LCK.
fifth consecutive title. And then, so Chovy will win his fifth consecutive title. People will still say he's bad for no reason. And the only thing people
No,
will
the
talk
reason will
about,
be that, oh, well, where is it at Worlds? Like, how many Worlds does he have? It's so
I
retarded.
love he's like,
Yeah.
international choker. You're like, he's literally the reigning MSI champion. Well, he chokes at Worlds. I'm like, oh my God.
I mean, they do the same thing tonight, by the way. Like, you look at the Knight slander, and it's like, wait, so Knight has played in the last 7 tournaments that Knight has played in. He won an MSI, won all 4 LPLs, was in semifinals of Worlds, which essentially was just the real final. Everyone knew JDG versus T1, the winner of that is just winning Worlds guaranteed. So that's essentially just a final in any other normal human format. If there's a double elimination bracket there, JDG is destroying Weibo and then just rematching T1, right?
Sure.
I mean, probably if there's double elimination, BLG probably beats Weibo the second time they play, and then BLG JDG always wins, and then that would be the actual pathing. Doesn't matter. And then the other one was the second place at MSI to Chovy, this most recent one. It's like these players, I don't understand why people value Worlds to this like crazy degree when we watch so much League during the entire year.
Here's a fun one. I went on the Korean fans have been hating the Monty and Wolf show because I just shit talk the Korean fans.
Bro, they
nice.
both of you. Oh my God, FM Korea is so mad.
They are so mad. So one of the
Wolf
things
too.
that
Yeah, because Wolf made a statement against Faker.
What did he say?
It wasn't against Faker. No, he said Faker's Yone was bad, which it was. Anyway,
yeah, it was objectively bad. Why do you think he doesn't fucking pick it anymore?
That's also a statement against Faker.
They got really mad about that one.
But the Korean fans are like, whatever. It is.
The thing they got mad at me about was that basically I said the Faker's fans never watched Faker. Like Faker's current group of fans never watched Faker in his prime. Didn't think he's great because of shit they never watched, and yet while they're doing this, they are just missing Chovy's prime. They're just actively ignoring Chovy's prime to talk about Faker when they never even watched Faker when he was really good. So I got mad about that, which is true, by the way.
That's actually a great take. That's a super good take.
Yeah, I don't know. People just love to hate Chovy. Like even when he's like the best player in the world, it's just, I mean, it's just the best player in the world. Chovy, the second best player in the world, is Knight. Is what it is. Like honestly, you could even argue like Knight's had a fucking incredible split in LPL.
Yeah.
Like he is actually just like 1v9ing. Like
he was on the struggle bus at first, but he's been great in the playoffs. Like the longer the season has gone on. I mean, he was fucking incredible.
Yeah, I mean, ever since like the Sen group like started to get towards the end and they started like picking up wins. I mean, he's dropped some fucking insane games on us. I mean, even the close games where like 3 people are getting like killed on his team to start the fight, and he just takes over the fight anyway. I mean, he's just been next levels. You could even make an argument that Knight's been playing better than Chovy in like the recent times, because I think that Chovy is not even like Chovy's not even in God mode right now. Like he doesn't even need to go into God mode to win like a lot of these games right now. But it's like you just give him the credit. Like when I make my tier list, I'm just gonna put Chovy as number 1 because I actually just believe he's the best player in the world. He just is chilling. He's coasting. It's his 5th title like in a row. Like he doesn't need to go all out right now. It's easy. He's trying to peak during Worlds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for it'll just be a pleasure to see both those guys over at Worlds. All right. Well, that was a little bit of LCK with the touch of the white Kia and the LEC. Let's move to 2 regions that we didn't talk about where things are, I mean, on fire is probably not the terminology anymore. I think it's just burnt. It's over. It's over. As we have our first segment of the day, it's everything is on fire, and it's Cloud9 and JDG. All right. This is the time to turn it off, Cloud9 fans. Also, if you were a Cloud9 hater or you love Monty to cash in on things that he called out like a long time ago, you could turn it up because he did call this, and we had to do the fucking fraud alert twice when Monty wasn't here, and we made fun of him both times. And now,
Okay, wait, did Monty call them losing to 100 Thieves? Because there's no way that Monty had them losing to 100 Thieves.
Look,
yeah,
even
it was
like,
this Cloud9
I could,
failure or Ayla. Like, come on, Monty, you had two of these things that you don't like, and you had to pick one. No,
look,
way.
it was
way
it
Monty
wasn't
would
it
lose
wasn't
100
it
Thieves.
was hate porn. Okay, it was hate porn for me. I can't lie. I definitely viewed watching the series as hate porn. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. And by the way, no, Dom, I did not have them losing to 100 Thieves. That would be insane.
Yeah, okay,
But
thank God.
they, I wish I did though. I wish I had been so bold. I wish I had hated to that degree. I aspire to your level of hatred that you have with T1, Dom. I'll get there. I'll get there.
Well,
but this Cloud9 roster,
No, you know how, before we move on, my hatred for T1 goes so deep that today when they got scammed, or when they got hacked, sorry, and the T1 LOL account with 1 million followers was just tweeting out just scams. They're just tweeting out scams because obviously it was hacked. I was thinking, I'm like, damn, like if that was me, I could have done it so much fucking better. There was
That's
a
what
way
everyone
better
said.
angle. Like it was like they're like, yes, this account is hacked, but we're going to run this up together. Use our coin, like $hacker. What the fuck? Like all you got to do is like, hey, we got free faker merch. You could make the most like rinky-dink store of all time. Just have like just a normal T1 jersey with just a faker written on it. Could not even be his fucking signature. And I bet you they could have scammed so many fucking people. Like they really choked that one. That was an opportunity for them. Hey, I'm not saying I don't condone scamming people, but I'm just saying I don't like people watching people suck at anything they do. So like if you're gonna fucking scam, at least do it better than that. That was pathetic.
They could have opened a legitimate store where they actually made things. They were just not affiliated with T1 and charged them crazy amounts, and they could have made a lot of money. But
And
anyways, they did not. I'm sorry, Monty. Go ahead.
I hate this Cloud9 team. I think they were ass even in their wins, by the way, because sure, you can coast to the record they had in the LCS, but they looked actively bad in winning a lot of times. I hated the fact that they were like B1 picking Nidalee for Blabber, and then Blabber would miss all his spears, and then somebody would just feed into him to get him kills. I think that they've been able to control objectives and then do absolutely nothing with them on the map. Again, this is a symptom of who the fuck is actually doing the shot calling on this team. This is a D+ situation. How have these players who have played for years have no idea how to play the map? Blabber, you're a jungler. You're a multi-time MVP. How have you not learned to call in the late game for years? Yeah, you got that early game down. I too was impressed how you were playing against FlyQuest, and you were getting objectives on both sides of the map, and FlyQuest was doing nothing but scaling. But hey, could you close out the game? Could you actually play around a Baron properly? Could you do your setup? No, you can't. Who is the voice on this team? I said it at the start. Adding Thanatos doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything because you're bringing in a Korean rookie top laner, and it's not going to actually solve your problems. Hey, Vulcan, where have you been? You used to be the best support in North America. Why haven't you learned how to shot call a game yet? How is Sven better at shot calling than you? How does that work? He was a fucking AD carry who role swapped to support. How is he better at shot calling than you? Where is the voice on this team? Jojo, why are we picking LeBlanc in these matches? Because I don't think it's Reaper who's forcing that one through. I think these are picks that Jojo wants to play. How have you developed no synergy between yourself and Blabber for an entire year? You guys even had 3 weeks off in the middle of the split to fix your shit with your new roster with Thanatos on it, and you didn't do it. This roster is pathetic. And also, Cloud9, you got rid of Mithy, then you got smacked by Mithy. Very nice. You bring Reaper back. I think Reaper's a good coach. But you know what? He can't do it in a vacuum. You need more coaches. Guys, Hai is not a coach. He's a team manager. He's on there because they don't have any more coaches to put on stage. He's just there. He's not helping in draft. Big RV2 is remote. You guys killed your entire coaching staff to pay Jojo Pien's wage. And I think it's a huge upset. Do I think that this is like the most egregious super team of all time? No, because the $7 million Team Liquid roster exists from 2022. And frankly, like Bjergsen alone was probably getting paid more than this entire C9 roster combined. But for this era of play, it is a fucking stinker. And you used all your money to buy JoJo, and you have nothing to show for it because JoJo cannot use his brain to actually win you games. And as far as I can tell, he's not even practicing. When I've tried to look up his accounts, he hasn't played in solo queue in a month and a half.
I mean, he's got accounts.
All right, fair enough.
He's got secret accounts. But I mean, I think that the biggest issue to me is, like, I don't even know if Rupert is a good coach because I don't see any like tangible progress at this point. I mean, like, what did they get better on from last split to this split? Like, it literally just looks like the same team. If you took off nameplates and you told me Thanatos was fudge this series, I would have thought it was the same exact team. Like, if I didn't know roster changes, Thanatos was just fudgified in this series completely. Like, and they're not even picking like he's some. I mean, he's picking the same fucking champions as well. It's not like he's even smashing lanes super hard. Anyway, but the thing that triggers me so much about this team is you put Blabber and JoJo together. And it is kind of unfortunate that it is like the worst possible meta to gank mid. It's a really bad meta to gank mid, obviously. Not just meta, just the way the game is right now. The fact that they pushed the brushes back mid, it made it really hard to actually gank the lane. And people are playing just a bunch of things that have a bunch of escapes. But I would like to see some aggression with them. Just either like even on side lane in the mid game, like just do something around JoJo in these games. And a lot of times like JoJo is just going forward looking like an idiot, just getting caught with the Blanc, but it's like he's not in positions where like he's allowed to carry the game. Like he opened one of these games and just solo killed Quid super fucking like easy, and it's like, all right, we got a lead mid, what are we doing with it? Oh, nothing, let's just go back to like farming for 20 minutes. I don't know, it's really hard to watch.
Also, if you do want to put some heat on Reaper, I think a fair one here is where is the Maokai pick? Where the fuck is the Maokai pick for Cloud9? This is a champion that Blabber has like an 80% win rate on that is objectively extremely strong in this meta. And yet you are literally picking a Mumu over it at times, or you're letting it slide all the way through the draft. And we're picking LeBlanc and we're just dashing into Maokai. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, you just get hit by W, get hit by ult, and you get chain CC'd and died. They don't even have the LeBlanc setups proper. Like, the thing about it is, in the LeBlanc games that we have seen and I am not a huge LeBlanc fan right now, but she can win games, guys. I've seen it. I've seen Rookie do it. I've seen Showmaker do it. Is that when you actually have these opportunities, you have to draw the other team into you and be flanking on LeBlanc and poking on the side, right? Do they actually do that? No, they try and fight like front to back team fights. It is insane the way they try and play with LeBlanc.
Who the fuck wants to play LeBlanc Ivern? Since when was that a fucking combo? Like,
I don't know, dude.
I mean, LeBlanc Ivern is terrible. LeBlanc MF Nidalee is terrible. It's terrible.
I mean, if you want to pick LeBlanc, lock in Vi. Like, and if you think Vi is just too shit of a champion to be locked in, you're like, oh, we think Vi is bad right now, then don't lock in LeBlanc. But you're not going Ivern LeBlanc.
Pick comps. You cannot play poke or front to back team fighting compositions with LeBlanc. Please, for the love of God, stop doing this. Like, Nidalee LeBlanc MF is a shit combo. It doesn't do anything.
Especially with an Alistar. Here's a little betting secret for people. One thing that I've just been winning money on is anytime I see MF Alistar on the same team, I just bet on the other team, because MF needs a Rel, it needs a Leona, it needs some type of actual engage. And Alistar, the reason you pick Alistar is to like cuck the Rel, to make it so the Rel can't really play the game well. It's not good at actually setting up engage. It doesn't have the AoE CC ability that a Rel has. It's very telegraphed. Like when Rel flash WRs into a team, that like it is very hard to react to that on the edge of the range, and MF can follow that up instantly. Alistar flash combo, it's like, okay, sure, MF will start channeling ult by like the third wave. People are already out of the queue and they can actually escape. So these comps like are terrible, and I don't know how you actually get there. It just literally looks like they're going down and just trying to pick like everyone's favorite champion right now. Like that's how it feels, like how they're drafting. And to me, that's got to be on the coach somewhat. I think that a good coach should be able to get his players in a position where they're at least not having like unwinnable drafts in a series like this. Like, you can't have a draft like you do in game 3. You look at this draft afterwards and you're like, wait, okay, I get it. I get the idea that it's like, okay, so Gnar is good into Renekton, right? Like that's something that people like playing. Like later on, it becomes good. LeBlanc is kind of good into Zeri. It's better into Zeri than like Corki, for example. Okay, I can see that. Like MF is good into Ziggs because you build BT, whatever. But then when you look at the whole comp together, it's like no one could fucking play on this comp. Like, who can play on this entire comp? Why? Why did we not just draft an Amumu here? If we're going MF with an Alistar, we need a fucking Amumu. And then if we're going into Amumu, then we probably can't go to LeBlanc. We have to pick one of the other 580 carries in the game.
They also could have picked Maokai. I mean, the Maokai was falling so far down on these drafts. It was crazy. It's crazy. So there were plenty of opportunities where they could have prioritized this pick, and they just never did through playoffs. And yet, I think it's actually a very good pick, not only in the meta, but for Cloud9. I mean, if you think about how powerful Maokai, like what is Maokai? Guys, Maokai is one of the best champions in the game. He maybe has the best ult in League of Legends. And he provides free unclearable vision unless you take damage. He is crazy good. He is crazy. He's good in almost every situation. You have non-committal engage, so you can kind of throw it out there. You get vision control, so you don't have to face check. He actually has multiple build paths, so you can actually flex your builds around the situation that you're facing. He's really fucking good. It's really fucking good.
Yep.
So I don't understand why we have this fascination. Like, I understand if you want to take the Amumu when the Maokai's off the board, sure. But I don't think the Amumu is anywhere close to what the Maokai can offer and like shouldn't be prioritized over it as they did in their previous series. And I don't think it should be falling this far down the draft when we know Blabber's good at it. It's just mystifying. The whole thing is mystifying.
When we take a look at the guys that are still here, who do you keep to restart for next year? All contracts go through next year.
I mean, Berserker also looks completely checked out, by the way. The skill vampires have gotten to him. He looks bad on Ziggs. They looked underprepared for this meta or unwilling to play it. And Berserker himself doesn't even look super good, like on champions that he's supposed to be good at. How did he fall so far from stomping on everybody to like getting Tomo'd, man? Like that's not acceptable.
It's a verb. He got filthy franked.
Yep. I mean, look, I don't even know who you keep. Like, it's so hard to tell. It's like
it's hard to tell
from the outside. It's literally you just have from the inside. It's just who is actually putting in the effort. Like, who's the people that are actually trying to make the team run. I mean, if you're going off pure performance, I think that like Thanatos gets probably more of a pass than the rest of the people because I mean he's somebody who's extremely mechanically talented. He's his first split in North America. He's a young player. I'd probably be the most willing to replace Vulcan out of everyone because I feel like Vulcan has just been like what I've always said on streams is that ever since Vulcan flamed Ayla, he became Ayla. Like he is just like he was the worst support. Ayla was just better than him in this series.
Ayla actually was pretty good in this series. So his
Ayla was pretty good in this series. He shit on Vulcan, which is like tough for me to even just accept. But I mean, I watched it with my own two eyes. I just have to call out what I saw. So I don't know what's been happening to Vulcan, but ever since I guess 2022 summer on EG, he's looked really off to me.
So Monty, who are you playing? Who would you build around?
I think this may be hard from the outside. It's hard to know. Like I agree with Dom. It's about who's putting the effort in on this team. You just got Jojo PN. I think that having Jojo, this may be a hot take, is more valuable than having Blabber because North American mid laners are few and far between, and we know what Jojo's ceiling is. And I think the problem here is that Blabber, while he runs the early game very well, he doesn't offer the brain that you need to shot call in the late game, apparently, unless nobody's listening to him and he's saying all the right things, which would be a whole different problem, right? But with Blabber right now, like I think his time on Cloud9 has kind of run its course. I think he reuniting Inspired and Jojo Pian is a good idea if that is possible. But I think Blabber at this point
is like it's like probably the best player in the league actually. Like I mean I like if every team that he goes on instantly becomes a top team. Like it's kind of fucked up. It's kind of fucking crazy when you look at like his ability to just go into a team because he he just straight up, like, he is just so fucking real with everything. Like, he will just play the game the right way, and if you don't play well, he'll just tell you, yeah, this is why you shouldn't have done like that. And if people get emotional, it's like, well, too bad. Like, he's just being emotional, whatever. It is what it is. If you look at like how he played in this fight, I feel like that was the reason why the series was so hard for TL. I feel like Inspire's pathing, the fact that he was just like looking for so many different creative angles. He was managing the games extremely fucking well. Obviously, I'm a jungler, so I focus a lot on what a jungler is doing throughout the games. But I mean, this guy just doesn't make many mistakes. He transforms teams pretty much instantly.
To finish the point here on Cloud9, the re-upped players that have contracts to go to the end of 2026. The end. So no one is on the end of this year. Not the end of next year is JoJo, Berserker, just those two. And then the end of 2026 is Thanatos, Blabber, and Vulcan. So Vulcan resigned and got a little bit of security, but also one of those plays that Jack does all the time where he's like, hey, I don't do 1-year deals. We'll do a 2 or a 3 year. And now you become a piece to get traded later on.
Then he goes and into huckster mode and then just starts selling players to other teams. I love Jack's package deals where it's like you can't have one player, but you can only have both of them. That's a Jack classic right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that
so
shit, oh man, that shit worked to that old
worked.
fly quest. You remember like the Palafox licorice fly quest?
Yep. the Jack package
with Diamond, like Jesus.
Yep.
Impact Spenskarian, definitely. That was another one.
Yep.
All right. Well,
you know what? Maybe when 100 Thieves sells their roster spot, they can get River or something like that. But I think you just have to blow up this roster because you are not getting the actual production that you need out of this team. And sure, the early game is impressive, but it doesn't matter if you won the early game if you can't actually close. And we saw that repeatedly in the games against FlyQuest. And then you cannot lose 3-1 to 100 Thieves. Now, I will say about 100 Thieves, Ayla did play well. Quinn and River played well. Sniper played like I thought 100 Thieves played a lot better. And honestly, if Cloud9 was the team that we thought they were going to be, if they were going to be a team that, maybe they can make quarterfinals at Worlds, maybe they can challenge some of the 3rd and 4th Asian seeds like we thought when they assembled this roster, then I would like to see them at Worlds. But because they are not that team and because they are galactic frauds, I would rather see 100 Thieves go to Worlds. So at least, like, I don't know, Sniper can get some international experience. You know what I mean?
Yep. I mean, I think it's so hard.
Sniper develop at this point.
It's so hard to judge like how well 100 Thieves played because it looked like C9 was destined to lose to anyone. What I said is like, if you went into that game 4 and you just subbed out the full 100 Thieves lineup and you subbed in full Immortals players, C9 would have lost. Like they were so scared. They're so like, oh my God, we can't choke. There's no way we can possibly lose to 100 Thieves. Like this is too fucked up. Okay, just make sure that everyone plays solid, no one make mistakes, and we'll win. They were so deep in their own heads, it was completely gone by then.
I think I was watching your co-stream, Dom, when it was game 3. I think it was the beginning of game 3 when they did the pan down the player cams, and like 100 Thieves looked loose as fuck, and Cloud9 guys could not see anything beyond their monitor. It was, and just it wasn't
tough.
It's very different when you see the fear focus or like just the championship mindset focus, and it was fear. It was distraught. It was distress. That's what it was. Just a quick note here, just too, because we were bringing up contract stuff. River and Tomo 2024 contracts, so they end here. Almost. Let's see. All of Shopify 2024 contracts. Almost all of NRG 2024 contracts. And then a couple of Dignitas players. But that's a lot of people that have job security for 2 years, I think, like 2 or 3 years. So most of Cloud9, all of FlyQuest, all of Immortals.
Do you have job security if your team is dissolving? Because no.
What happens to that? What happens to the contract if your team dissolves? Like you can't. It just, I guess if a team, a Brazil team or LATAM team gets one of the slots, they're bringing their own roster or can make changes with their roster, and your contract now becomes null and void because the franchise is gone, like it dissolved.
Well,
like
I
bankruptcy?
imagine there are clauses in the contracts that say that. I mean, why wouldn't you have these apocalyptic clauses? Because you don't know. I'm just speaking as like a former
Right.
team owner. I would have clauses in my contract, which is that if the team stops competing in the LCS, the contract is dissolved.
Yeah.
Right. You have to have that for your own protection against Riot, because you never know what those crazy fuckers are going to do.
Or
And
have
you can't,
done.
or have done. And you can't be on the hook for your contracts if they go insane. Because the thing is, Riot has absolute power. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you are dealing with an entity in which they can just summarily execute you at any time, and so you can't just be continuing to pay if they make that decision. So
Got it. Also, last one that I didn't touch on from a top team, Core JJ ends this year. Contract.
he'll get re-signed. That's less of a concern.
Okay.
It all makes sense now. That's why he's been so bad the last couple of years, but turned it on. This is his
Contract year for
this is
Core
contract.
JJ.
Yeah.
Contract year for River. All right.
sense.
The other team that is on fire, was on fire, and now burnt to a crisp. It's JDG. The posts were everywhere on Reddit, on Naver, on FM Korea. Ruler not going to Worlds for the first time in a very, very long time. Big sad. Was being connected to like T1 already just because fans are crazy. This team not making it through here, Dom. Unthinkable at the beginning of the year.
I also don't think Ruler's leaving because his contract is through the end of next year. So don't think he's going anywhere, guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's unthinkable. Like a lot, the huge question mark was how good Flaundry was going to be this year. Everyone knew the team would be worse when they saw this. They were like, oh wow, losing 369 and Knight, and you're getting Yagao and a player that hasn't played in a year. Even though Flaundry was pretty good in 2021, 2022, the year before he took the year off, he wasn't playing as well. I think the thing that people need to consider is that, yeah, I mean, other teams just improved like along the way, right? Like when you look at Weibo, this team got Tarzan, right? Like this team got Tarzan, they got Breve, they look way better than they did in spring. So that's a team that can easily contest. When everyone saw this roster, people thought Weibo should be top 4, even though it didn't start like that at the beginning of summer placements. LNG is another team that went to Worlds, right? Like the majority of this team just went to Worlds last year, and they got Weiwei, who was in the World Finals last year as well. So I wasn't 100% sure that JDG would make it. I thought they would be like roughly the third best team, but JDG really sabotaged themselves. Like not only did they, play the whole split with Sheer, but then they came back to Flandre in the playoffs for no reason. It seemed like the team had such a good formula on how to win when Sheer is playing, because Sheer essentially was just playing the role of 369. Like he was just playing 369 champions. He was playing team fights extremely well. He was making such good decisions about like how to like tether in team fights, how to frontline, how to create space for Ruler. And then they just took him off the team. And it's like Flanger was never good at that. The whole reason that Flanger was playing in spring playoffs in my mind was because he was able to play things like the TF top. Like that was supposed to be his advantage, was that he could play some of these like different, more carry picks that were OP at the time. But in this series, he's just playing Sheer champions worse than Sheer would have been playing them. So it was really, really sad to me to watch how JDG fell apart.
Well,
and also Yagao has just been terrible. Like he just can't play 80 mids. It is what it is.
well, this goes back to my conspiracy theory that Sheer is not allowed to play at Worlds because he would have to apply for a visa, and they would see that he is not, in fact, 17 years old. Actually, here's another thing. It may be
apparently. That's what they say.
So yes, I'm sure he's 18. Yes, very real. He's very definitely 18 years old. And by the way, because they actually, I don't know if you guys know this, they raised LEC's minimum age to 18 this past year, and so I wonder if it's also minimum age 18 because Worlds is being held in Europe. That's also a possibility because it used to be 17, but I don't know what the minimum age for Worlds this year is because I haven't seen a Worlds rule book yet. But it's possible that it was also raised because it's being taken place in Europe to 18. But regardless, so here's my theory, guys. So And you might say, well, why don't they just qualify for Worlds with Sheer and then send Flandre? The issue is, guys, is that you have to set your roster before you know whether you're qualifying for Worlds, because if you're Chinese, you have to apply for visas, which can take several months. So basically, every team that has a possibility of qualifying for Worlds must apply for visas. This also happens, by the way, guys, when teams go to China for Worlds from the West. You know, all the teams are busy applying for player visas. And so my theory is that Sheer couldn't play playoffs because I don't think he's actually 18 years old. Again, do I have evidence? No. This is Monty's conspiracy theory. But look at him. Let's just use your eyes. He's not 18, guys. And so they wanted to put in Flandre because he was not on the submission for the Worlds list, right? He was not on the submission for a Worlds visa. And so that's why. That's my theory. But because you find it's either that theory or he must have done something horrible and unspeakable within the JDG house, because I don't understand why you would run this guy through the regular season and then pull him in playoffs. That is insane to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the thing could be that there is like a bias towards
Sheer's
like
on
legendary
your screen
players
right now, by the way. Sheer was on your screen. You can see him. His headset. If you look at his headset, guys, he's tiny. That's not an 18-year-old.
but he's actually pretty tall. Like he's actually pretty tall. So like that's the thing that gets me skeptical. Is I'm like, wait, he's taller than like a lot of his other teammates. So
Dom's conspiracy theory is that Sheer did something unspeakably horrible. Okay.
No. My conspiracy theory is mainly just that like in Asia, like they just like these players that are legendary. Like when you look at like LCK, LPL, it takes them a while to let go of like the players that have been like world champions. And I mean, look, fucking Rascal was still playing at points. Like there are some players that are clearly fucking washed that still get time if they've played for long enough and have a good enough reputation. So I could see it being a thing where it's like, okay, Sheer is like the young, like he's like the young player, like you can play some in regular season, but once we get to like playoffs, we're gonna take the veteran, the person that's been there before, the person that's won like championships before or won a championship before, won Worlds. Like they just want the guy that has that experience because they feel like that's gonna add something.
Our producer's having too much fun with the
with
the evidence.
Thank you. It is quite evident though. Anyway, you guys make your own decisions. Is that an 18-year-old? Also, here's the other gossip I heard, Dom, is that he said he was in 5th grade when IG won their championship on his stream, which would put him in 11th grade now, which means he's not old enough. And then he retracted the statement about how old he was during IG's win. So you read into that.
That he's just 16, I guess.
I guess he was just wrong about his own life. It's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah, maybe.
And then retract. He's like, "Oh, fuck! I said the thing I wasn't supposed to say."
Detective Monty on the case here. I didn't even know that. Like, that's cool that you know that. That's also wild that happened. This is the one thing you weren't supposed to do. This sounds like a dream interview that I would wish never had.
This is why you put the crazy conspiracies out there, because then people find the evidence for you, dGon.
Oh, I see. Good job, crazies. Shout out to the
Shout out Chinese community fans.
If Dom, would we be having the same conversation about Weibo if Weibo lose this 3-2 instead of JDG?
No, definitely not. But I mean, I think that there's something else that people need to accept, which is just that like Light has been better than Ruler this year. Like, and I feel like people just I don't know why they just don't. I mean, well, I know why they don't accept it. It's because Ruler's name is so legendary. Look, I'm a fucking huge Ruler fan too, but I think that would be the weird thing. It's not that we would have the same conversation, but everyone, like all over, I see, oh my God, Ruler didn't make it to Worlds. Like there's like a ton of Ruler coddling going on.
Yeah.
But if Light didn't make it, people wouldn't be like, oh, like people would be like, oh, well, Light didn't make it. Well, that guy's kind of fucking shit anyway. And he looks weird. Like his head, he's got a weird shaped head. We don't like that guy anyway. Like that's the weird thing to me is like,
and he's not Korean, crucially.
Yes. Oh, on Western social media, that is It's one of the best qualities you can have. Like that is something that they love, man. Like it is idolized. But I mean, Light was fucking good in that game 5. He was smurfing. Like if you watch that game 5, Light was making sure that he won that game. I mean, if you just look at how he played from lane to like when he makes a pick, he's the one flashing forward, making sure that they're like getting the kill on the Renekton, killing Flandre. Then there was that like standoff around the third Drake, and he just goes mid and takes the tier 2, and he just makes sure that he's ahead. Like he was doing so fucking much in that game. And I don't know. I just feel like this guy never gets the credit he deserves.
All right. Well, those are our two teams that are on fire. Closing thoughts
Yagao
here on JDG.
Yagao was also asked.
Oh, he belongs in prison. He belongs in prison.
Oh my God.
Jesus fucking Christ, bro.
Just a
Like,
second
why-
ago that he was the antagonist in the main character between Knight and Yagao, these two Chinese mid laners that will
I
constantly
mean,
play
he
against
was
each
really
other.
fucking good before. Like he was super good. Like in the right meta, I think he's really good. I mean, his Silas is always like nasty. I mean, his Talia,
his rise is so good.
his Rise is good. His Talia is good. Like I mean, he can play. He's a better Azir than Knight, for example. Like that's always been an advantage that he's had. But my God, he's just awful on 80 mids. I would just not play him on 80 mids. I literally think you just have to go the Faker approach. Like you literally just have to go the Faker approach with him and be like, okay, you can maybe play Corki every now and again, and like Azir will take that. Just maybe we can give you a Smolder game every now and then, but you are not on Lucian. You are not on Zeri. You are not on Tristana. You're not on any of these champions where you actually have to like flex on them.
I mean, he played one Smolder game the entire summer, which is kind of crazy. Just played one.
I mean, it's a champion though that like I don't think you need. Like Smolder's a champion that kind of like plays itself. It feels like I don't like when you're watching Smolder, you're never like this is a great Smolder and this is a bad Smolder. You're like, how many stacks does he have? Oh, that's a lot. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, they probably win this game. That's how you feel.
Yep, it's how fast they can stack up. Well, the JDG roster all have 2024 contracts, so they will all be up except Ruler, who has a 2025
in prison
contract.
They just downgrade the roster around him one more time.
Yeah, the way that the LPL does it, it's the LPL shuffle. Like God, new faces.
I am
new
sad though, like JDG. I'm just sad about JDG not making Worlds because they lost one best of 5 last year, so close to the Golden Road, arguably the best team of all time.
No, they were last year. They're garbage.
Oh right,
they're frauds. That's why T1 shit on them. T1 was better than them the entire year.
I love that JDG won both domestic splits and MSI, but lost Worlds, and T1 lost both domestic splits, lost MSI, and then won Worlds.
Didn't even
somehow
get second
T1
at
is the better
MSI.
team. Somehow T1 is better. Okay, guys.
I mean,
okay.
T1 wasn't even the best team in Korea the whole year. Like I don't know. It's so hard to fight because I swear like the T1 fans don't even watch LCK. Like when I deal with T1 fans, I'm like, hey, like Gen G was just a better team. Trophy's been better than Faker for like 4 or 5 years at this point, guys.
You know,
like,
Dom, one of the mercies that we got, by the way, is that I don't have to see T1 flags with or T1 fans with Brazilian flags in their Twitter bios anymore because Twitter's been blocked in Brazil. But shout out to Twitter being blocked in Brazil because that was the T1. The Brazilian T1 stands were the most annoying. And if you don't agree with me, tweet at me. Okay, thank you.
nice.
Just want to throw this
He
one
was
out
just making
there.
all of Brazil hate him too.
Wait. That's what I was doing. I was covering. Just want to throw this one out there. He said Brazilian T1 fans. Not
exactly.
Not all Brazilian T1 fans. If you say it fast enough, maybe the anger subsides so that you can hear all of it.
If you're angry, please tweet at me. Please tweet at me, Brazilian T1 fans.
Yes, with the the naked guy. Send the naked. What is that called?
Vampeta.
Oh, the Vampeta. Yeah. No, the place I was getting most, like when I got the most T1 death threats, so like in 2020 when we had that Whippo interview, like when I started my whole beef with T1, it was all based off that, right? It was mainly Southeast Asian T1 fans that were like really going in. Like there was just ones that were just like, because the thing is my last name is Rivera, so they thought that I was Hispanic, so they were just dropping like all these fucking Spanish slurs. I'm like I was born in America, like also my parents were divorced. I lived with my mom who was like white, you know. So it's like it's not like I was like super indoctrinated into like Spanish culture. Like I'm like giga Spanish, but they saw Rivera and they just kept on like saying all these slurs. I'm like, these don't bother me. Like these are just they just make you look racist. Like you can say a bunch of other stuff that would bother me more, but yeah, like it was just pretty much like
Should have gone for the white picket fence.
yeah, there was like combinations, right? Like there was some people that were going after like they're like, oh, so-called LCS veteran. I saw that so many times. Like, oh, he calls himself a former pro player allegedly. It's like, no, I mean, it's just like that's just how it is. If you play it, then it's a good thing. But it was mainly Southeast Asia. Like I had a lot of T1 fans from the Philippines and from like Indonesia and stuff. Just tweeting at me like random death threats and stuff. So yeah, that was the main T1 fans. And then there was like just Korean T1 fans, obviously, as well.
There's a lot of barking from the Philippines, and then there's a lot of barking. There can be a lot of barking from the angry Filipino gamer. It's sad. There are a lot of lovely people, but I encountered that too when I was there. Oh well. All right. Well, those are things that are on fire, and now we'll see how Cloud9 and JDG move forward. What do you make of those fires of seasons? Let us know in the comments what Cloud9 should have done, what they should do moving forward. Same thing with JDG and moving forward. We'd appreciate that. And when you do, make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can get more of your esports content here from Last Free Nation. Now, while you're at it, we got to remind you about one of our partners because they power our show. One of them is one that, again, I use all of them, but this is one that there was an incumbent. I had an incumbent device in this role before, and now it is now the number one. It is
been dethroned.
It has been dethroned. That's right. It is my Raycon Everyday Earbuds. Now, obviously, you've heard us talk about it. I've had those incumbents that I had before, but they went around my ear, wasn't as comfortable. I didn't think I could find a wireless earbuds that could just go in the ear because I got like kind of weird shaped ear cavities. But no, they come with a bunch of different fits, different buds that go into your ear, sits right in perfectly, has active noise canceling, quick charge functionality, multi-point connectivity. That part
is clutch.
super,
so it can
cool.
Yeah, it can connect to multiple Bluetooth devices simultaneously. So you don't have to do that thing where you like go into your phone and then reselect everything. So that's been really handy. Also, sweat resistant, so you can take them to the gym, like weather resistant. The active noise cancellation is really good too, and the awareness mode. They've got everything that you want, and they're also less expensive than most other earbuds with that feature, with many of these features. So you get value too.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard us talk about it a couple times, multiple different colors to fit your style. So I've been wanting to check out Raycons. There is no better time than now. The upgraded model will blow you away. So head on over to buyraycon.com/powerspike today to get 15% off your Raycon order plus free shipping. That's right, you'll get 15% off and free shipping at buyraycon.com/powerspike. That's buyraycon.com/powerspike. Thanks to our friends over at Raycon for my new favorite everyday earbuds. Yeah, they are great, and I am so happy to have them and use them all the time. Bring my charger with me all the time. It's great. All right, let's move to our second segment of the day. It's time for a keeper kick. We went from the worst teams to now the best teams of the West. There you go. I just wanted to see if Monty and Dom would get mad at me. All right. Keeper kick. Which one are we taking as we move closer to Worlds after their regional performances? Team Liquid or G2? Let's get into it. All right. So G2 done with their finals. They are the champions. Congrats to G2.
What an unexpected result yet again.
Yep. We got to see something historic, though. It was Fnatic actually winning a game with a lead versus G2 in game 2. That was crazy. I can understand. Look, I saw Rich's Wrath going in on Medic for being so hyped up in that game, too. And it's like, if you saw, like, I watched all 5 of those games. I felt so crazy hyped up when I saw Fnatic win a game. I'm like, oh my God, they can just fucking go to an objective and hit it and win the game when they're up like 10K gold.
What?
Holy shit. They're
What?
amazing.
My favorite was what was it, game one, when they were on Cloud Soul points and they were standing there. They decided to not go to Cloud Soul, not to
Yep.
do Baron, and not push the
They
base
just stood in
all
the
at
middle
the
of the
same
game.
time. They just like actually like had a seizure in the middle of the map and did nothing.
They're like, Caps is in the side lane. It's like, yeah, but
Get it.
you're like up in gold, so you can just go get the fucking purple worm thing. Like that's pretty good
That's
for
right.
your team.
They're like, Caps is in a side lane. Blow Kedden's flash so we won't have it at the next objective. We got him, guys. Nothing's up on the map. Okay, well, do you have some stuff? No. Do you have rocket bill? No. Okay, well, great. Kedden, very useful now.
Yeah. Well, G2 get it done 3-1 against Fnatic. And to, I guess, no one's surprise, but maybe Fnatic fans surprised. I don't even know Fnatic fans believe that they were going to win. There's
I
an
told
article
you
that came
they
out.
bought all the tickets for Saturday and then they didn't show up.
And so on the opposite side, TL not done yet. Got pushed to the brink here by FlyQuest 3-2. They still got the victory. They are in the grand finals waiting for the winner of FlyQuest and Cloud9. I mean, 100 Thieves. So who do you feel like is doing better now? Or who do you think has the tool set to do a deeper run here in Worlds 2024?
I think it's got to be TL at this point, but to me, it doesn't really matter that it's TL right now. To me, I feel like G2, they figured out some things. Like they definitely played better this past weekend. And I don't believe that they're like going to be bad early game forever. Like they are bad right now early game all the time, and they just get away with like having to perma swap. When you think about how this team has played before, even like going back to last year with the same lineup, they understand how to get leads early game. They just need to have like some better plans and figure out exactly how, like what they want to play in order to do that. So right now I would say like TL looks like more solid at more phases of the game, but I could easily see G2 like outperforming TL at Worlds. Like I could easily see a world where that happens. I mean, NRG placed higher than G2 last Worlds. So what does it really matter who's looking better in this finals? Like Worlds is short, man. Like you don't get that many chances. If you show up and have a bad best of 3, you're fucked. Like that's enough to completely fuck your entire chances. So I mean, right now I think TL is playing better, but G2 could easily fix things and be better or just play better on the day.
I think, I also keep TL and kick G2 at this point in time. I think G2 has improved and will improve. I do think there are certain things about G2 that give me a little bit of pause. They really got actually dunked on by MDK at the start of this because they were not respecting a lot of like the Zeri, Corki, Ezreal flexes that could happen. And they were, I think, giving up, a lot of advantages to MDK on red side as a result of that. And they were kind of playing off meta themselves. My concerns are, Hansama not really a Zeri player. He's played 3 games of Ziggs all time, and those games were in 2021. So we're not seeing, I would say, the most meta picks out of this team, but I think they have adjusted, and it's good to see Caps like actually having the Zeri in the mid lane as this tournament progressed. We know his Tristana is good as well and was, continuously drawing bans throughout this series. So they are threatening. And their macro looked better. Mickey had some kind of int moments early game, but also like was pretty clutch in a lot of the scenarios late game, and especially as the series went on. Broken Blade is just like back on tank duty in the top side for the time being, because he's been a little bit unstable recently. So I understand why they're prioritizing that, and I think they bounced back against MDK really effectively. I do not like some of the things that they're doing still when it comes to jungle Gwen. Like I don't understand why we don't just pick Brand.
Oh yeah.
Like why don't we just pick Brand?
I mean, the only 2 games they lost were with Jungle Gwen. Like this weekend, the only 2 games they lost were when they locked in Gwen. I don't know what their obsession is with it. I can see it every now and then in certain games. It makes sense if they draft like, what game it would be good? Jungle Gwen would be good if you drafted it in that game that Hanwha Life played when they had like the Orin, Cassante, Vi. Like that's where you go. That's where you go with the Jungle Gwen, because Vi can't really invade you early. Gwen is going to get to 1 item like very easily, and then there's 3 frontliners that Gwen can completely like shit on later on in fights. But
Yeah,
this
it felt
these
it
these
felt
were
like it was
horrible
for like
during the
that
LAN games.
solo Baron cheese. You know, it was like the 2-item Gwen solo Baron cheese. And it just wasn't useful compared to what a brand could have done in some of those team fights. And they
Why
did
do we
switch to
need to do
brand.
that? Like, why do we need to solo Baron
Who knows?
cheese? Like,
Who
it makes no
knows?
sense.
Dude, G2
an
just does this
option.
shit. You know that. You know they love a little bit of cheese. That's fine. They switched off of it. I mean, yeah, to be fair, Yike also was like missing a bazillion skill shots on brand, so maybe that's the reason they weren't really playing it too. So I won't say his brand was super impressive, but I think if you look at Liquid, so I'm gonna say, like, as far as trajectories go, G2 was getting better. I think that Liquid played much kind of worse than normal in their match against FlyQuest. Like, APA had some really rough moments. Yun I heard was sick or something in this series. Like, so I'm not sure, but his performance wasn't really up to snuff either. So I do think it was like a bit of a struggle against this FlyQuest roster. But even so, I think TL, like, this was a bad day for TL, and I don't think we're going to get that many of these bad days, right? Like, we know that TL is like legit a world-class lane swap team. They are a world-class macro team. They make good decisions. And if they don't have some of these like mispositioned moments from APA and Yun, I think this series is over, you know, much, much cleaner.
Yeah, I also think FlyQuest played pretty well on the day. Like,
Sure.
so, like, it seemed like you got like the best version of FlyQuest playing against like TL on an okay day, and TL still won. So I think
The
TL,
finals are going to be this close, guys. When FlyQuest and TL rematch in the finals, TL is probably just going to hammer them. That's my theory.
I mean, I thought that this was like one of the best of fives I've watched in LCS, like maybe ever. Like, in terms of like the level of play, I think this was probably like the highest quality best of five that I remember ever watching. Which is crazy because I've watched so many games, but it's like, when I'm saying that, I'm not saying that like for the time, because maybe you could find one like a 2016 compared to like how good teams were in 2016. Maybe you could find something like that, like the finals. But in terms of just the overall like skill level of this series, it was just pretty high quality. And I think that TL, yeah, I mean, like Monty says, they're world-class lane swap team. They're very good at being able to find unique answers to like lane swaps that other teams don't find. Most lane swaps are very standardized between teams, where they just figure out like, oh, okay, so we're gonna push these first 4 waves, then on the 4th wave we'll fake base in the bush twice to cancel so the guy can't instantly TP. Then when the wave starts thinning out, you take your base, run your bot lane, but your top lane ends up being down to TP, or well, you'll be up TP advantage, but you'll be lower in experience, and then you just play out the lane from there. It seems like TL is one of the teams that can actually figure out in game all like where the gold like should go. It's like, okay, we want the experience. Like in this situation, we want to keep our Kai'Sa top solo versus their Wukong because he can perma pressure, he can perma farm, he can even deny him. They find these angles to get really far ahead. And I think that that's a really big thing for the team in general. The fact that they have actually really good lane swaps, because there's not many teams that are that good at lane swaps. Like right now we have Gen.G. I think BLG got a lot better at it, mainly because Wei, I think, is just a smarter player than Shun. I think BLG is really
BLG
good.
was pretty woeful at it at MSI, but they did improve pretty significantly.
Yeah, they got better at it. Top Esports got better at it. Gen.G is really good at it. Hanwha Life is really good at it. I don't think T1's good at lane swaps at all. Like I think the T1 lane swaps are one of their weaknesses. Dom1, they just int themselves in the lane swaps. Weibo, LNG, I think, are the same. So that could be a legitimate advantage for a team like TL. And the thing that I like more about their lane swaps in G2 is it feels like G2 just kind of understands like base timers and like when they can start swapping the lanes later on, and they catch teams off guard like that. But when I was watching it, it did feel like, to me, Mad Lions and Fnatic were like extremely low level at being able to read what G2 is doing. It never felt like they were able to preempt the lane swap and get to a position on the map at an equal timing, or understand like when they're not going to be able to match the tempo, so they have to do something else. They couldn't ever find a turn. It felt like G2 would just swap, and then, you know, Fnatic and Mad Lions would be like, oh, I guess there's nothing we could do. I guess we're just like slowly losing gold. And that was that.
And they pulled the trigger on a fight that was not beneficial or not be there on time. So, you know, a lot of the time with teams like G2, these legacy teams like T1, like Cloud9, we're like, all right, well, once it happens, once we see them lose the best 5, once we see them struggle internationally, then I'll believe it. But with does G2 just get a pass? Because they're the team that lost to NA last year. They're the team that has given NA hope for all of this year and fuel after NA, and me being such a huge NA guy, accepting that, oh, Europe's just better than us for like years. It was probably like the 2-year run from like 2021 to 2023.
I mean, I would say some of us would say forever, but
Okay. Well, yeah. And but yeah, you know what? That's true. And I will admit, right? I'm way more on like the pro NA side rather than maybe in the middle or more on the pro EU side. But it just feels like this team won't go away. And like they are inevitable. And how much of that is caps and how much of that leads to their success? Like how much is it caps and their ability, his ability to just drag the
it's the
team
same
along?
thing. It's the same thing with T1. Like when you are the most prestigious org, you just get access to the best players, right? And when you have a key piece like Caps or Faker to build around that other players want to play with, then you just get access consistently to the best, up and coming players and the best veterans. It's how T1 has operated for their entire run since signing Faker. I mean, T1 is the most prestigious esports organization in the history of esports, period. Like it's not even an arguable point. They've been around for longer. They had it extremely, they've had multiple like Bonjois and StarCraft Brood War. They didn't have Flash, by the end, KT had Flash, but the number of titles and the prestige of this org is second to none. And then they've just continued to cement that legacy by being, the best, having the most famous esports player in the world on the most, and being the most successful team in the most popular esport in the world. And G2 is basically the same thing in Europe. But when you have a piece like Caps where he continues to win titles, you just get access to the best coaches, the best players. It just works like that. They also have more money than Fnatic, right? Fnatic doesn't have a lot of money, guys.
I was about to say that, like, why not Fnatic? But that's a great answer. And the reason why I was bringing it up this conversation is, sorry, European fans. College football just started, and you're starting to see a big shift of power in these like legacy organizations or big change at ones like Alabama. They don't have Nick Saban, who's the legendary coach, has been there for a long time.
Right,
Clemson
but you also
is
see,
a newer age.
I hate Nick Saban.
What? Why?
What he did to the Dolphins. That guy was garbage for us.
Wow. I mean,
I
good
forgot
college
about
coach
that.
though.
Yeah.
I forgot
Yeah,
about
he's
that
a
too.
college coach. You know why he's a college coach? When he came to the fucking Dolphins, he didn't do shit. He didn't get us a playoff win, nothing. Jesus Christ, man.
Sorry, go ahead.
Also, fuck Dan Marino. Didn't even get a Super Bowl. What a loser.
Hey, I'm just for me, I'm caring about just one playoff win is what I'm asking.
It's all right. Tua has a new contract now. Is he doing it? Him and Tyreek? Is it time?
I opened the can of worms.
It depends. I mean, last year obviously we had Chiefs first round, but the biggest problem is that our entire defense was injured. Like our entire defense was injured. Like we had really good linebackers. Like we had Van Ginkel, we had Bradley Chubb, we had Jalen Phillips, and they all were just they all just had like insane injuries. Like Jerome Baker was out too. We literally had 4 linebackers out. Xavier Howard was like dead pretty much the entire year. Jalen Ramsey was fucked at the beginning of the year too. It's like our whole defense was just hurt the entire time. It was too fucked up.
We just did our draft. So what? You have Hill, Waddle, 2
Yep.
running backs.
Yeah, Mostert,
A-Chain. A-Chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind. You guys should win. And then you can finally forgive Nick Saban. Anyways, the point was like, how do these teams
I don't watch college football at all, by the way. Like I CBA.
Okay.
It's like to me, it's like watching Academy. It's like, why would I watch tier 2? and I could just watch
LCS
tier 1.
enthusiast refuses to watch college football. Okay. Anyway.
I mean, like honestly,
That
LCS
was a
have
strong
more hope.
title. That was a strong title.
More LCS teams have way more hope internationally than like a college football team has versus a bottom
true.
tier NFL team. So
That's true. That's true.
All right, so here you go. I'll help out our European friends because I see some people being confused. It's like when who finished like bottom of the table in Premier League, and it was really embarrassing last season. Was it Liverpool? Liverpool had like their worst finish ever, or something like that. No, not Leicester. It's like one of the big dogs, one of the big organizations just start to fall down the pecking order. How does that happen? Why does that happen? Or I guess the question I originally asked was, what creates the staying power? And Monty said, money. And when you have a player that people want to play around and you're getting opportunities for trophies. It was Chelsea. Chelsea has a lot of money, but they don't have players that people want to play with. Or like the player that people want to play with, like the way that, I don't know, you can find at other clubs, other organizations.
I mean,
That's
it just turns out, I know this is very surprising, when you have players that other players want to play with, it becomes easier to sign those players. And why would you not want to play with Caps is the answer. You know, why would you not want to play with Caps? And as far as T1 goes, T1 also is in a position where they have the most money because they are an advertising arm of SK Telecom and they are in a joint venture with fucking Comcast. They have more money than any other League of Legends team.
That's a lot of money. So, all right. Well, just throwing that out there, food for thought. Both of you guys picking TL right now, but not really giving.
I mean, wouldn't it be
G2 a
exciting
boot.
if both G2 and TL were actually good at Worlds? Wouldn't that be fucking fun? I hope that's
that'd be
true.
so good. Yeah,
I mean, we
same.
have seen TL versus G2 in a finals.
I mean,
before.
I do think both these teams want to be like. I don't really think the third and fourth seeds that are going. I mean, third seed from Korea, if it's T1, I would just give them credit for having just enough aura to be able to beat a Western team. It just seems so hard to beat T1 if you're not from China or Korea, and you're not an absolute elite team. But I think that when it comes down to like LNG, Weibo, Damwon, like assuming those are the teams that end up. I mean, well, those are the teams that are going from LPL. From Korea, we don't know who the fourth seed is going to be. Technically, we don't know if T1's even going. I assume it's going to be Damwon going over KT. But even if it is KT, like I don't think that those
Please no
teams
KT.
are. I don't think those teams are like anything scary. Like I think quarterfinals should be the expectation for both TL and G2. That should be where that's what would be considered just a standard finish. And then if they somehow make semifinals, it's a fucking celebration.
They'll play each other and make semifinals. Shout out seeding.
Nice. It seems like it will probably be impossible because that would mean that one of them would need to be able to like beat Gen G or BLG or something like that.
That's
But
right.
hey, if it happens, I'm down.
Yeah, I think we're in an era now where we've seen enough of like the macro play and a good play where it's like, man, that'll never happen. To if it happens,
you want to hear a rant? You want to hear a rant? So LCS is kind of like, I don't think the quality of LCS has been very good. Cloud9 didn't, live up to expectations. So I want to know from NA LCS players, why is it? How is the magic of Team Liquid playing with two unknown up and coming carry players? How have they managed to get so good in LCS? Because all y'all motherfuckers are always telling me, the ping, we can't play the game. No one plays. How are they so good? How did they almost beat T1? How are they dumpstering Fnatic? How did they get good in a region that you are telling me is impossible to compete in to get good? How did they do it? Are they fucking wizards?
Well, they weren't that good, but then they got to play with Impact and Core JJ, and they taught them the game. That's why they're so good.
I think like a lot of this is due to the coaching staff and actually the drive of the team. I think a lot of the LCS players have not been doing everything they could to win these games, because the thing is, like, you can learn macro whether your opponents are good or not, and TL proves that. Because if you can't, let's pretend the ping issue is real. Let's pretend the mechanics issue is real. Okay, well, we can't get good at that, but what could we be good at? Could we be world class at lane swaps? Of course you could be.
Oh, lane swaps
Theory
didn't exist
crafting.
until like recently, essentially.
Sure. Well, I mean, we could have a
Thanks.
discussion about why that is too, because it's not like it wasn't impossible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
But
it's because NIP did it, and then everyone else in the world was like, "Hey, that's actually good." That
yeah,
was it.
it was good when they weren't doing it too. It's just people didn't try it. The thing about it though is that they also just play around pressure super well and play around objectives super well. That was in the game before. Why couldn't NA teams learn that? Tell me, I would love to know the reason. LCS players, I would love to know, LCS players, how it is possible that Team Liquid got this good in a region that you are telling me and have been telling me for a decade is impossible to be good in. How is that? I think it's pure coaching and motivation. I had a fucking laugh, dude, when I saw the GM of Cloud9's League of Legends team being like, the players gave it their all. I'm like, no, they fucking didn't. There is no chance that this team that I'm watching, that is the best they can do. There is no shot that this group of players, that was the best performance they could give. That is a fucking lie.
Go ahead, Dom.
In summary, move LCS to Arkansas so they don't have anything else to do besides play League of Legends. Thank you.
I'm down with that. I'm down with that.
Arkansas is like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what a European example is.
Like moving it to like Bulgaria.
There you go. Sorry, Bulgarians that watch Power Spike.
There's nothing wrong with Bulgaria. It's just less to do in Bulgaria than there is to do in like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know, just put it in Katowice, man. Katowice, home of esports, home of the Spodek Arena. And I will tell you, as somebody who likes Poland, you know, Katowice is horrible. Everybody knows that, though.
Actually, yes, that is true. Katowice, the people nice, just nothing to do, but Spodek is there. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, that was our keep or kick one between TL and G2. The West, we've got teams. Well, 2 teams now. We'll see if anyone else joins them in the dark horse conversation. Finally, let's close things off with one more segment. But before we get to that one, it's time to remind you about our friends over at AG1. Not sure if y'all have noticed, but your boy has put on a little bit of pounds, but I've been working out now.
He's back on the wagon.
Back on the wagon 6 days in a row, mainly because I was getting the bag and it required a lot of travel, so it made it very difficult to stay on a workout routine. But even while I was traveling overseas, I still brought my AG1 with me and their travel packs because I've been working on improving on my health lately. It has been so imperative that I've been taking my AG1 because it is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients to my gut health support and is backed by multiple research studies, so you can trust what you're putting into your body, just like Monty is doing right now.
I just drink it in the morning, man. It's great. First thing when I wake up, gets me hydrated right away. It's got all the vitamins, probiotics. Great. Wonderful. Love it.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, like, obviously there's a huge coffee culture here in Korea, which is great. And having one is fine. But having more than one, not so good. And the AG1 then helps out there with me, for me as well, giving me more energy while I have my AG1 in the morning. And here are some research points that they've had. 97% of people in a research study felt more energy after 30 days of drinking AG1. And 91% of participants noticed they needed less coffee after 60 days of drinking AG1. And so myself, Dom, Monty, everyone here across LFN have been using it for a while. You've heard us talking about it for a while. So if it was time for you to re-up, now's the time to take action. Because if we had to recommend one product, only one, to support whole body health, it's AG1, and that's why we're always very excited to have them as a partner and share our experience with you guys. So if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/LFN Legends. That's drinkag1.com/LFN Legends. Thanks to our friends over at AG1. All right.
You know, dGon, you were talking about working out. And last week I had a very fun workout injury where I was deadlifting and then I threw out a muscle in my back because I'm old. And it was not fun. It was not fun.
That is what I did almost 5 years ago now, a little over 5 years ago. Are you okay?
I'm fine. Yeah. It like I heard something pop in my back and I was like, oh, fuck. I hope I didn't rupture a disc. I did not. No herniated discs for Vonzi, but I did. It feels fine now. But I did pull a muscle. I think I didn't sprain anything. It was actually like the least bad version, but I was only deadlifting 100 kilos. So I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, really? This did that to me?
Yeah, that's 220 for you kids at home. 220 pounds.
It's not a lot, right? I was, but I was very surprised. I was very surprised. It's like a very normal thing for me to be doing, and yeah,
We're getting to that age.
I can
where
tell.
You don't need to do more than that, Monty. You don't need to. Tom, how much do you deadlift?
I was just trying to do that.
Yeah, about that, I don't really deadlift much because my knees hurt. But I did have something recently where there was somebody who had like one of the like like what are the like hex bar deadlifts? Have you seen like the hex bar deadlift?
Yeah.
And there was somebody who had weight on that recently, and I just like I was like in between sets just to, like fuck around. Like I mean they like left the weight there, like no one was using it, and there was only like I think there was like 185 on it, and I tried lifting it. And I just like did it with like horrible form, and I did get like tightness in my back, and I had like the same type of thing where I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, it's like like normally when you deadlift, you're very like you're very cognizant of like how your body's positioned, and how your back's positioned, like mainly, right? And I just did it like half-assed because I was like, "What?" It should be like pretty easy, especially like because hex bars make it easier, right? Like I thought the hex bars make so hex bars make it a lot easier. So I was like, oh, this will be super. And then I just did it with fucked up form, and instantly like I like fucked myself up. So I think it was the last time I did like when I was with Gilius in Germany, we were doing about that. Like I'm just very cognizant of not doing too much with my knees. Like I'm very scared of like squatting and like anything like that because my knees are fucking bad.
Yeah, those exercises are so healthy for you. However, if you do them wrong, they're so damaging to you.
Yep. True.
So, but either way, actually, that's what I want to know. In the comments below, let us know your deadlift and squat numbers. I'm sure that'll get a lot of hits. I expect to hear
everyone is squatting like 700 pounds, deadlifting like 650.
They're like, I'm 25 and I'm deadlifting 340. I'm like, great.
Enjoy.
Yeah,
I really am.
Those are pretty achievable numbers. Like I like on deadlift, I'm like very, very safe.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear how many thousands the G2 LoL entity actually does as well. Last conversation that we have here, the meta that has been prevalent over the last the last split, it's been 80 carry meta, specifically in the mid lane, after the 80 carry items that happened in the mid-season patch back in May or June, whenever it was. So we got us thinking, what are our Worlds meta wish list? What do we want to see here going into Worlds 2024 over in Europe? Maybe there's a tweak, a change. Maybe there's a champion that is all synonymous with Worlds that maybe is out of the meta right now. What do our experts want to see? Let's dive into it. Today's Galaxy Brain Club, our Worlds meta list. All right. So Faker got his, as you know, he was doing poorly, so they pulled the levers and they buffed Azir, and Azir's back on in. But what else do we want to see? And Ori. Sorry, forgot about that one. And Ori.
Can't wait for the classic Azir Corki matchups at Worlds. That's my dream, guys. Just every matchup Azir Corki.
Zero Corky.
as God intended for every world championship.
Well, it used to be before Zeros existed, right? Wasn't it? It was Corky, Ezreal, Graves. It would be those three always getting buffs right before World starts, so you could see a carry jungle performance or an AD carry that sometimes could go into the jungle performance, and Corky just always there, just shooting rockets. It was kind of lame.
Bring back Yumi.
No, no.
I want to see Jarvan. I feel like Jarvan is like a classic like jungle. Like Jarvan to me is like kind of the Thresh of the jungle, where there is like skill expression on the champion. It's like basic enough where it feels very fair, and I feel like I can respect a good jungle Jarvan performance. I'm so tired of watching like all these really insane junglers play Maokai and Ivern and Sejuani back to back. Like I don't know what they thought was gonna happen. This is my biggest issue with balance, especially when it comes to jungle, is they'll have a time where it's like the picks will be like Maokai, Sejuani, Zyra Brand for some people, but like sometimes Zyra is getting first picked, but you know, like not everyone is playing it all the time. And you'll have this like next tier of champions that's Maokai, Sejuani, Ivern, that people are already picking and even prioing over like the Zyra, for example, at EWC, for example, owner is prioing Sejuani and Vi and stuff like this. And then they just nerf Brand and Zyra. And it's like, so what do you think is going to happen? Now everyone's just going to play tanks all the time. Like, wasn't the whole idea of the changes supposed to be that like you get more full clear junglers going on, like you change the experience, you get more carry junglers in the mix instead of just seeing Maokai? Maokai has been literally broken since 2022 Worlds. It's been 2 full years of Maokai being tier jungler.
You either have to nerf his numbers so hard that he's irrelevant, or you have to change his kit, because his problem is his kit. His problem is targetable CCW, Infinity Vision, and his ult. So if you don't fix those things, then you can't fix Maokai.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like a champion like Ivern should just never be in the jungle. Like you get rewarded so much for doing nothing. It's just such like a stupid design where it's like you don't have to play jungle intelligently at all. Like you don't have to care about like camp order, like efficiency, any of this. You literally just walk around like an idiot for like 20 minutes, and then you just end up being more useful because your items cost like 2,000 gold each. Who the fuck designed this? Like, what type of moron designed this shit? It's so horrible. It's like it's so pathetic when you play the game into an Ivern in solo queue. You play versus like competent Ivern, play versus Jamikin Banana, this guy who's like always spamming this cringe ass champion for like 5 years now. And you play a carry jungler and you're 5-0, 2 items. And this guy like got completely shit on. He's like 80 CS 0-0-0. And he's somehow more useful than you in the fight. Like he's dropping redemption, shield, brush line, all this shit. It's like, wait, so he doesn't have to do any, like he doesn't need to care about his farm. He doesn't need to care about anything. He doesn't have to care about ganking. He just literally can exist and get like, it's like if Janna was like the most broken. I mean, I wouldn't even say Janna. It's like when Lulu is the most broken support. It looks so unskilled, so pathetic. It's like, why is this a thing? Why do they do this all the time? Please nerf these fucking skillless lobotomy champions, bro.
Also, they didn't name the basketball skin Allen Iverson, which still upsets me.
That'd be a good one.
I think that's a good analogy with the Lulu, because you could see like a Rakan, like, you know, battle dance over the wall, you know, grand entrance in, snare a bunch of people, and Lulu's like, ha, press W. Same kind of thing there for Ivern compared to other junglers that just punish ahead. Those are.
I want to see. Look, I want if I had a wish list, like I would love to see Ryze come back, because I think Ryze is actually a really fun champion to watch. With
you
Realm
like
War.
Korean League of Legends, because you like the Koreans and they all play Ryze. That's nice, Monty.
And this
Well,
Ryze. Ryze is good.
Too bad Yagao isn't going to be there at Worlds. You know, otherwise you might be excited about it too. But I like watching Ryze a lot. I think you know, weirdly, top lane is actually in a pretty entertaining state right now. I do want to tamp down on double AD carry AP junglers though. I would like to see some Graves. Honestly, I would like to see some Graves coming back. I think it'd be fun to have more, or Kindred and or both, have some more AD carries coming out of the jungle rather than the mid lane. Return to some traditional mages, having Akali and Sylas buffed, because I think, you know, look, the DRX's fraudulent 2022 Worlds run aside, that was a very exciting mid meta to watch. That was a very exciting mid meta to watch, and I think that we want to see some players like Knights, on some of these picks that can really make a lot of plays and be very flashy. And I think they'll probably do some of that. I think they're a way. I do not think Riot is going to say mid 80 carry meta is an acceptable meta for Worlds, because they don't want to promote things that they don't like to see in solo queue, particularly around Worlds. So I think they're probably going to come down on some of these shenanigans pretty hard.
It just feels like to remove the double 80 carry meta, it's hard because it was the item changes, right? It's like you're nerfing all the champions one at a time, kind of like a whack-a-mole.
Well, they refused to nerf Faded Ashes, which I find interesting.
I mean, Faded Ashes, like no one's even really playing it that much anymore. Like, what's the meta right now?
Like, I mean, you still see it on Maokai quite a bit, even though some Maokai is diversified into Locket first, right? But
yeah, I mean, if you look at like, let me look at Canyon. I think Canyon's like one of the people that, let's see, what has he played in his recent matches? He has played full tank Maokai. Like he's essentially played no Faded Ashes at all in.
Yeah, I don't think he does.
Besides for on Nidalee, I guess.
Well, part of it is that he's playing with in games with Ziggs a lot of the time too.
Yeah. So Ziggs will get the Leandries. That's usually the path. Leandries plus one of the two. Like you don't really need to finish.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like people in Korea are just going like Morellos. People in LPL are just going Morellos second on Ziggs. Like it's really hard to watch.
Oh my god. Let's see. I think, is there a top laner that we haven't seen in a while that says Worlds to me? I mean, Aurelia. Like I think an Aurelia pick is something that
I would love to see that, but yeah, I look, I think I don't think we can complain that much. I mean, look at what we're seeing in top lane. We're seeing some 80 carries sometimes. I mean, we're sure people might want Cassante to go away. I actually like Cassante because I think he's an interesting champion to watch. So, maybe people are like, I'm tired of renekting Cassante, but what else are we seeing? We're seeing Olaf, Nasus, whatever, Garen, Camille, Jax. Like it feels like top lane meta is maybe the most diverse right now. Kennen, obviously.
Yeah. I remember now what it was in the mid lane. A Galio. Like a Galio, it's boring, I think, but it leads to these massive team fights.
Chovy will play
macro.
That's something Chovy will do. Faker will do it.
There was a couple of angles during the matches that I felt like he could have, but they went with the dog instead because they wanted to play Nasus. Dumb, what else?
Nasus nerfs would be nice. I don't think this champion is really fun. He's just really fucking boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of like other things I really don't like. I mean, I'm done with Cassante, to be honest. Like, I'm tired of it just like always being fucking like fine or good all the time. Like, it was cool to me for a while. I think it's like there's skill to it. But I just think it's too easy for like the pros that are skilled on it to be giga useful for like pretty much no downside.
I'm looking through 80 carries now. 80 carry feels like you could play things that are outside the meta right now, but you kind of have to be built around a little bit more rather than just lock it in and don't worry about it. I think a Cassiopeia is another one, like just mages.
Cassiopeia can be played though. That's the thing, is that in Bright Search, we've seen some of this like come out, like BDS obviously.
I feel like it should be a counter to Nasus. Like if you play like Phase Rush Cassio into Nasus, like I don't see why that would be bad. People are blinding it.
I think people should stop blinding Nasus because Nasus has so many different counters with Garen, or play a very passive game with Smolder, which is what we saw, or like you just said, like Cassio, but it's not something that's so strong where you can blind it, or blind it and not worry about the counter picks that come against it. Oh, okay. And then I guess last question would be what was your favorite Worlds meta? What's your favorite Worlds meta when we go through all the different?
Probably 2022.
I like season 7 Ardent Sensor meta.
You sick fuck.
Yep. That was my favorite meta.
I thought 2022 was a really fun meta. I thought that tournament turned out really well.
I like the season 4 meta the most out of any year. I love that you could just play like so much weird shit like in the game. People could play a ton of like random picks. Like you could play like Pantheon jungle, you could play Fiddle, you could play Rengar, Jarvan. Like
the Rengar games, especially
everything
from
we
Dandy,
played.
were very exciting at that Worlds.
Yep. I like
All right.
that meta.
That was a good time, but that was a long time ago, Don. That was 10 years ago, man.
Oh,
Sheer
back when
wasn't even
Faker used to be
born.
good, even though he
Sheer
wasn't,
wasn't
at that
even
World.
born. Sheer was not even born in season 4. Fun fact, guys.
Stop. Stop. You're gonna get us in trouble. All right. Well, those are some of the things that we wanted to see and some of the things that we hope not to see anymore. We can do a full-on Worlds preview, both in terms of players, teams, and meta going into it on a different episode. But this
once the regionals finish.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, I do want to. That picture is great. Thank you, Light, our producer. I do want to point out this is that the Worlds is coming up so fast. Like it starts on the 25th of September. That teams are not going to have a chance to boot camp in Korea. They're just gonna have to go straight to Europe. Like Team Liquid, I imagine is going to go straight to the Netherlands, where their facility is that they use typically for their like Counter-Strike team, because they have a building there. And so I'm actually somewhat concerned about the Western teams as a result, because they are not going to be able to like hard boot camp and practice against Asian teams heading into this.
I'm worried for LCK because they're the ones that finish their series last and the World Qualifying series last, and we've been on the same patch the whole time too. So I feel like they might be behind as well. So a little differently. But you're right. I don't know any Western teams that are coming to Korea. So
no, they wouldn't be, because basically as of right now you'd have to leave, but then you'd be jet lagged in Korea. Then you'd have to set up all your stuff there.
Yep.
You have to get the PC set up in your boot camp location, and then you just leave and you're like jet lagged again. So nobody's going to do that.
Jet lag is a myth. It doesn't exist.
Oh my God, he's a
as
that's
somebody
your
who's
tinfoil hat conspiracy.
I've traveled to Korea. I've traveled to Europe. There's no jet lag. It
he's
just
a
doesn't
jet lag
exist.
denier. He's a jet lag denier.
Yep, I'm a jet lag denier. I've done it. There's no jet lag.
Keep in mind that Dom literally lives in the League of Legends time zone at all times. So why would he feel jet lag? Because he's literally doing the thing that prevents you from feeling jet lag, which is to live in that time zone in advance. So I don't know if I would trust him, but
the thing is, I never sleep. I always just feel horrible because I'm like because I just don't sleep. So, like being jet lagged is just normal for me. Like I'm jet lagged when I fucking covered T1 versus Domwon at 1 a.m. after going to sleep at 8:30 or 8:45 the night before.
All right. Well, with that, I think that's enough for today's episode. We went across the world, covered
the sun never sets on the Rift.
All of them. Yeah. I actually have to go down to the finals location now, which is 2 hours away, to go shoot the pre-show. I think we're shooting the pre-show. We're shooting content for the pre-show. I'm not sure. But
already better than LEC. You're shooting content ahead of time.
I'm excited. It's my first live finals event that I'm working, because I did do it in 2017 over with LCS, but I wasn't on the show. I remember they were like, "Oh, well, you can use our social thing, this Instagram thing.
You can watch what? Were you just a cuck to this final?"
Yeah, basically. I mean, I got to say hi to Gordon Hayward.
You just got to watch. So like you can just sit in the corner and watch dGon.
No, you can make videos, and so I took videos on Instagram and Snapchat. They didn't understand the power of content.
What the fuck? You actually did get cucked by Riot.
I did.
That's amazing.
I did. I got paid.
You can sit there. You can sit there and take the videos. Okay, very interesting.
Yeah. now I get to do the show, which is cool. Anyways,
I like it. Let dGon
Nice little
fuck. That's what I say.
let me fuck. All right. With that said, it's time to go. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to all the channels. Check out the LFN Culture channel and make sure to watch the co-stream with Dom, as well as Bangers Only with Monty later on the week. Also, a new episode of Summoning Insight coming.
Yep.
Happened
Later today. The same day.
Monty's crushing it. So make sure to check all that stuff out. Watch the LCK Finals and LCS. Cheer on your best teams. Be nice and be kind to the teams that got knocked out. You know, give them a nice little word for them. Until then, we will see you guys next week to cover the finals and preview Worlds. See ya.